Hello and welcome to WrestleTalk. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen, DAD, and this video is a free taster of what you can get if you go and support us right now over on Patreon, patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
So this is the first episode of our revamped version we did of WrestleTalk Extra. We released this back in January of this year, so apologies if there are some dated references. There shouldn't be too many dated. Actually, maybe that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
See what we thought of wrestling back in January 2024 as we review something from January 2014. So this is the first part of our Breakup of the Shield series that we've been doing over on Patreon. And we thought that we would give this out here to the free feed so you can get a glimpse, a bit of a taster of what we are doing over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Because you will notice as you watch this, there is full video of WWE Network stuff that is frozen in this version you're about to watch here, because otherwise we'll just get flagged and demonetized and etc, etc, etc. But if you go and watch on Patreon, you get to see all of the video. Every single clip that is frozen here, you get to see in full motion video over on Patreon.
We've also got this, we're only putting up the first episode. This is a 7-episode series. I think the whole series ran about 25 hours.
Well, yeah, because each episode's about 3.5 to 4 hours each.
Yeah, as we dive in sort of month by month, show by show, of how the breakup of the Shield actually went down. And I've got to say, there are some bits that I'm still stunned by. I just thought that's one of the biggest factions they ever had. It's created all these megastars 10 years later, yet it seemed to be booked week to week.
It's not very good. Surprisingly, not very good. So we dive into all of that because we are going month by month by month, week by week, in fact. So we're looking at the episodes of Raw and SmackDown that happened in between the pay-per-views as well. We're looking at what the Wrestling Observer was writing about it at the time and kind of sort of getting a bit of fan feedback of what people were expecting of this Shield breakup. And it's actually quite remarkable that it's like, I mean, it ends. They have the breakup episode. We actually we review the episode of Raw where they break up. And then just 1 week later, it's like, yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
And now Roman's a cartoon character, and we've got Wacky Dean now.
This is not what the WWE video packages have told me happened.
It's not.
And there's loads of other stories at that time as well. You've got CM Punk walking out on WWE at the start of 2014. Daniel Bryan going to the main event of WrestleMania 30.
And then getting injured.
Damien Sandow becoming Mizdow.
Yeah. Yeah, we chart that.
All those little stories.
Stardust.
Yeah. Oh my God. Frequently embarrassed for Cody Rhodes.
That's towards like the end of the season. It's at the start, it's just like, you're just boring Cody Rhodes. And then the longer the series goes on, we're like, oh no, we're getting towards Stardust. So not only that, we go chronicle the breakup of the Wyatts.
Yeah.
Because the Wyatts also break up at the same time, more or less.
Yeah, it's mad. Of course, we've been doing a bit of a drive for Patreon recently. That's because YouTube revenue ain't what it used to be. It's gone down. And some of our series actually lose us money because of the amount they take to make. And our own costs have increased. So rather than just say, hey, please support us and give us money, but thank you to everyone who does, we thought let's give you some stuff that you want exclusively. So here is episode 1. See if you enjoy it, and then go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Support us there. Help us keep making what we're making, and you'll also get episodes 2 through to 7, the remaining 20 plus hours of this series.
And this month's episode, the September episode of WrestleTalk Extra, starts our brand new season of WrestleTalk Extra, where we are going to chronicle TNA's greatest rivalry and looking at the 5 Kurt Angle Samoa Joe matches, many of which are TNA's best pay-per-view buy rate performances. And we're starting with Genesis 06, so we're going to be looking at Kurt Angle's debut, his leaving of WWE, his going to TNA, and yeah, we're just quite excited because we get to watch TNA from 2006 and 2007 and 2008.
We did the Shield, guys. We did a WWE storyline. Now it's one for us. And we'll watch the Patreons leave in droves. Yeah, that's actually at the $11.50 tier because we've changed a few bits. But the Breakup of the Shield series is on the $6.50 tier.
Yeah.
And you get loads of other things like for those tiers as well, like exclusive survival series, exclusive tables, lists and chairs, exclusive 3 count we're working on. So yes, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Please go over there and support us, and we hope you enjoy Episode 1 of the Breakup of the Shield. Hello and welcome to WrestleTalk Extra. Read all about it. It's Ollie Davis. It's Luke Owen. It's Adam Whitney over there on the mixing desk because for the first time ever, we are doing WrestleTalk Extra for the first time in like 7 years in video form. Look, and I'm looking at one of the cameras and I know now but you missed that, Whitney, because you were drinking your Pepsi.
Old Phil over here.
In his CM Punk hoodie, drinking a Pepsi.
There we go.
And getting himself over by going on camera as
Honestly.
well.
The reason we're doing this is because we thought new year, new us. We're going to do a revamped WrestleTalk Extra, which is sort of our flagship Patreon exclusive show. We've been doing it forever. It's going to be in video form.
Remember what we did say, though? Not too much visual. I'm going to be I'm steering that ship. We're not doing too much visual.
Wide camera.
This is
Close
the
up
same
camera.
show
Wide camera.
that it always has
Close-up
been.
camera.
We're
Wide
not
camera.
doing this.
Now to Luke.
Not doing this. No, we are keeping this show as normal.
Yeah, okay. We'll see how long that lasts. And also, just content-wise, we've changed it up. Historically, you lovely Patreons would vote on what pay-per-view we do each month. But now we've decided to override you. And we're just going to do a long-running story, which is the breakup of the Shield in this instance, our series focus. We're going to do that over the next 7 months.
And this was a poll winner. 2014, Royal Rumble 2014 did win the January poll. So we were going to review this show anyway, but because we wanted to move into this new direction for WrestleTalk Extra, we were like, what can we do here that's going to kickstart our new series arc? One of the ones we did look at was, this is CM Punk's last show forever in WWE. He ain't ever coming back.
No, surely he wouldn't, after all the things he said about them.
We'll come on to that later. And that was going to be our first thought. Like, did Punk's leaving really change WWE? But I actually think the breakup of the Shield is the bigger thing, you know, when they actually do break up, when we do get to that point, the way that they talk about it in The Observer and Figure 4, that it's the greatest wrestling trios faction in the last 20 odd years. Probably, like they say, like probably since the Freebirds, it's the best wrestling trio. Yeah, you could maybe argue for the NWO, but that very quickly became more than just a trio, and they were just a faction. So we thought we would do the breakup of the Shield.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So it's some meat. I mean, just because we've watched quite a lot around this as well. It's also nice to relive the time period. Your Big E isn't Big E. He's Big E Langston. Alexander
Rusev. His first names and last names abound in this place.
Yeah, and it's just such a weird place. Because I was trying. Usually we talk about where we're at this time in our lives. So this is January 2014. There was no NXT for us to watch then.
No, because it's not. It is on Sky. Because I was seeing bits and bobs of NXT around this period. I was aware of Rusev, and I was a big fan of Rusev. And one of the reasons why I was a big fan of Rusev, it came back to me while I was doing my research. Alexander Rusev. One of the reasons why it resonated with me so much and why I was excited for this is because Brian and Vinny of the Brian and Vinny show on Figure 4 were massive Rusev marks. Like, Vinny V in his write-up of the Royal Rumble is angry that they eliminate Rusev so early into the match. He's like, how dare you eliminate him? He's the greatest character that NXT currently has.
But NXT in this form is so primordial almost.
Bo Dallas is NXT champion. Yeah. You know, it's Jinder Mahal's in the finals of the NXT championship. It's not the NXT that NXT will become in the year following.
Is it even like this year at the end of 2014? Well, when it's for me like great NXT starts when Kevin Owens comes in,
which is 2015.
I think it's mid 2015. Yeah.
I think it's mid 2015 because
we can check. Uh-oh, we're going to use our new camera angle. When did NXT get good?
Well,
they say 2016.
2016?
I think, but that's Reddit. I remember... Oh, this is on Wrestling Forum for audio listeners. I remember it as the lame-ass rookie show. When did it transition to what it is today? And people have said I would say since they got a belt and gave it to Seth Rollins. That's way too early.
Yeah, that's early 2014.
Oh, they're talking about like seasons of NXT, like Husky Harris, not as a rebranded OVW. Oh wait, this question was asked in 2015.
Yeah,
then it's probably already good.
Yeah, I think it's probably like it's good at this point, but it's not what NXT will become in 2015 when it becomes, oddly enough, the alternative to the main roster. And, you know, what kind of AEW then became in 2019, NXT was doing first, and TNA was doing that 10 years earlier than that. But yeah, like it's kind of fun to see Rusev here as the NXT call-up in this. It's a Rumble with not a lot of surprises, really. It's just, Rusev and Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
And not Daniel Bryan.
And Kevin Nash had also come back a couple of years beforehand.
Yeah.
It's like nowadays with Michelle McCool in the Women's Rumble. You're not a surprise anymore. You've been in 3 of them.
I think there was recently like a WWE video that had like the best surprises in Royal Rumble history. And they had Edge at, Edge's 2020 return, like not really breaking into the top 10 because he's not there anymore. But Michelle McCool's return in 2023 was like number 8.
The 2023 one?
Yeah.
I don't know. Undertaker's pulling some strings backstage.
I really do think that when Michelle McCool came back in 2023, the crowd went nuts for it. Yeah, anyway, so it's 2014. It's January 2014. We are going to do this in our first episode to kind of start the series. We can't do this every month because it'll be broadly the same stories over and over again. But where were you as a wrestling fan at this point?
As a wrestling fan, I was aware of NXT. I was watching every episode of Raw, not every episode of SmackDown. It was funny when you were sending me the notes of oh, watch this one. There were no SmackDowns in there.
Oh, no. There's not a lot going on SmackDown. Like, The Shield were on SmackDown, but they weren't, like, moving stories on SmackDown.
So what I would do is I had a job in I was still just I'd left Forbes Music, so I wasn't working for Channel 4 anymore. But I was working at like a broadcast place. So I was doing ESPN. Like the feed would be sent from the United States, and I'd make sure it would go out for BT Sport, funny enough, who've now been bought by TNT Sports, who air AEW in the US, but now air WWE in the UK. Super weird. So I would get up. Really? No, I wouldn't. That was old. That was when I lived at my parents. That was your big, like, you would drive and your dad would be in the car behind you, right? Yeah.
To make sure that you didn't fall asleep at the wheel.
Well, also because I couldn't drive. I think it was just, I could drive. I was, I had the license.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was ropey sometimes after a 12-hour night shift and a 2.5-hour drive back.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I would somehow not go on the internet, not listen to podcasts, not check anything, and save Raw as my treat when I would get back at about 9 p.m. on that Monday night. And I had to be up at 5 a.m. the next day,
right,
to leave for work to get there at 7:38. And I would watch the 3 hours of Raw, and I used to hate it. I used to hate it because it was 3 hours long, and I did not have time to be doing that. And I had to pause everyone else in the house because I lived with my partner and 2 other people. And yeah, I'd watch it, and I hated it. And I was also in my sort of spare time directing the WrestleTalk TV show and producing that, so I had to watch every episode. Maybe if I wasn't doing that as my job, I don't think I would have watched every single episode, just the bits I liked. But you didn't have YouTube to just go on and watch the clips of either.
No, it wasn't. YouTube wasn't really a big part of WWE's like production, I guess. Like, it was very much like, you watch this on TV. Really, like, wrestling YouTube doesn't really exist at this point either. It's
probably about 2 years away.
Yeah, which is funny when you kind of look back how this crowd reacts to this show. Is almost like that's the precursor to what wrestling YouTube becomes in 2015, 2016.
Personally, I can work this out because me and my partner just celebrated 10 years together.
Congratulations.
I believe we're in the courting phase. So we now date the start of our relationship from when we first hooked up on a night out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a long courting period afterwards.
This is a new era of WrestleTalk Extra. We're going to get to this, are we?
We booked the feud out of order. We started with the blow-off match.
It's like a Jericho feud in AEW.
Yeah. And but she, despite me asking her out 3 times,
Wow.
she had just come out of a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
She didn't want none of that. She didn't want none, like AJ Styles. And it was on the 3rd time of asking, and it was the Saturday of a Progress show, which was either the week before or the weekend of this Rumble, that she said yes.
No way.
So it's like, yeah, that's a footnote that only I care about, because me and my partner just take it from October when we first started seeing each other. But the actual official part of us going out, even though we were exclusive that entire time, or at least I hope so. That's
Yeah.
So this weekend of Royal Rumble 2014, I helped her build a piece of flat pack furniture, asked her out for a 3rd time to be my girlfriend. She said yes, and then I went to a Progress show. So that's where I'm at in my wrestling fandom, that I would not stay with her that evening. I was so into indie wrestling, Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I hated WWE.
You were a big Progress guy as well.
Yeah.
You quite famously once told Ross Tweddell that you liked it before it was cool, and
I
he
did.
and he didn't understand that as a joke, and just assumed you were actually pretentious.
It's a joke with a lot of truth.
Like all good jokes.
So yeah, that's where I was at wrestling wise. But I will say WWE at this time, although I hated 85% of it, the Shield, Daniel Bryan, the Wyatt family, CM Punk, like they were so important to the last year and a half period of this.
I would say so.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Like I was not a WWE guy at this point. I'd gone off TNA as well, probably well before this point. Like the Hogan Bischoff era of TNA really did kill a lot of my interest in that promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then they left, and it just sort of felt like that was just what was left, that sort of like they hadn't completely burned to the ground, was just trying to like relight a fire, and it just wasn't there anymore.
And AJ had gone as well.
Yeah, so like it just didn't feel like the TNA that I'd loved in the mid 2000s. And yeah, you're right. Like with WWE, it was loved the Shield, loved Wyatt, wanted to see Daniel Bryan get pushed. And it was kind of like almost a leftover of the Zack Ryder resentment or the Dolph Ziggler resentment that fans had towards WWE. But I was obsessed with WWE at the time, though. So while I wasn't a fan of the product, I was obsessed with WWE because they just weren't listening.
Yeah.
And that just made me more and more annoyed that we as fans are literally telling you what we would like to see you do, and you are actively going against that. And I found that to be fascinating. I was so into listening to Wrestling Observer Radio, listening to the Brian and Vinny show, being part of forums, not being active on forums like I was in the early into mid 2000s, but certainly like looking at forums. And Twitter was just starting to become like wrestling. Twitter sort of blew up in the couple of years previous to this. Now it was a huge part of being a wrestling fan, was being part of wrestling Twitter. So yeah, I was just kind of obsessed with the wrestling world of WWE, and it's the launch of the network.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also
Not over here.
Not over here, but I'm also freelance. At
Surfshark VPN.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did because I got
We
it.
all used VPNs.
I got it when it came out in the US because I wanted to watch it, so I just used a VPN to get it. But I was also freelancing at this point. I'd quit my job so I could focus on being a writer for a year, which means I had loads of free time on my hands. So I did watch quite a bit of wrestling. And it's just prior to me getting involved with WrestleTalk as well. That would happen the year after. But yeah, like I was obsessed with WWE, but for all the wrong reasons. But I now look back on this as a time where I'm even more like fascinated by, because this is an angry crowd towards the end of this show.
10 years to the day. Well, it's if you weren't living through this time, maybe you're a newer fan, maybe you were younger and thus an idiot. When watching this period, I'm saying that in jest, of course, when Luke says there that this wasn't a good time and they weren't listening to us and we were hate watching WWE, that's not a unique experience. That was this whole show is feeling the exact same way, and so much so that they changed the plans of WrestleMania 30.
Yeah.
When people chanted yes, and they do it all through this show, they would do it months beforehand and months after. That yes wasn't an endorsement of WWE. That was, yes, this is something we like that's happening, and then it wouldn't get followed up on or pushed.
Do you think the Danielson thing would have been as big as it was had it not been for Zack Ryder a few years prior? Because Ryder was someone that the crowd wanted to see pushed, and there were always "we want Ryder" chants because Z True Long Island Story really had appealed to this sort of hardcore audience that had spilled over into just being all of the WWE audience, I guess. But WWE actively went against its fans and said, no, we're not pushing him, and took every opportunity they could to make sure he was not getting pushed and punishing him for it. So with Danielson, there's this almost like a feeling of like, we are telling you this. Do you think it would be as vicious without Ryder?
I think so, because I think the Danielson stuff really comes from that Sheamus loss at Mania. And all the momentum he had coming into it. And the yes chant was just getting over as the heel shtick. Pretty sure I'm getting that time.
You are right, yeah. Because it really kicks off on the Raw after Mania, after the 18-second loss.
I think that's what did it. But yeah, that's not to discount the Zack Ryder, the Dolph Ziggler. And to be honest, it all probably goes back to, I'm going to say it, if you're doing Ollie Bingo, the 2011 Pipe Bomb promo from CM Punk.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time WWE, it's someone on screen in WWE addressed that, this is crap, isn't it?
This product's rubbish.
But don't worry, I'm here. I'm going to make some change. And then
he didn't.
That change was him feuding with John Laurinaitis as the secondary program to John Cena,
who was also feuding with John Laurinaitis, but his was the actual program. It was like, you get to have your Danielson pay-per-view. I mean, it's interesting, like, reading through a lot of the observers talking about like Punk and how much cachet he's got with the company, like how much can you push him and stuff. But they often do talk about how, sure, like Punk feels over with the crowds, but he's also not the number one merch seller. When he's on top, his house shows don't draw as much as John Cena's. His ratings are not as big as John Cena's or Randy Orton's. Also, his pay-per-view, when he headlined with Punk and Bryan, it did not do as well in pay-per-view buys as when Cena and Orton were doing, programs over the title. It's this weird, like, that's one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with WWE, is that, particularly in this period of time, is there is an audience that loves this Cena-Orton stuff, but they don't go to shows. They just seem to do it at home. But the people who like the Bryan and Punk stuff don't buy the pay-per-views, but do go to the shows.
I feel defensive. My whole body language is contorted here because it just put me back into that time period where I remember those reports. And I just like, two things. First off, when you're building new stars, that will be a consequence of it. You'll have to sacrifice a little bit in numbers and merch sales and TV ratings to establish the new guy. AEW's going through that transitionary process in 2023. The idea is you have to take a bit of a short-term hit to ensure your long-term growth. Because a couple of years after this, Cena and Orton aren't going to be around. So that's why they should be building the next group of stars in this period, not just doing another Cena-Orton match, which is what we get on this pay-per-view. Secondly, maybe it would have worked if you just actually freaking got behind them and booked them better, because they didn't do that. They never even though we can look back and say, wow, the Shield were great. Wow, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. Wow, Punk won the title and held it for that long. They never felt like they were actually the top guys.
No, because to again prove that, to back up that point and kind of reiterate that point, Cena house shows are always drawing bigger numbers, so he's
that's chicken and egg.
I know it is, but so you're like, because that's the WWE mindset, isn't it? It's like, well, we can't push these guys; they're not drawing the big numbers, but Cena is. So yeah, we'll put the title on him to make the fans happy, but really Cena's our guy and Orton's our top heel. And then it's just like, then it's a vicious cycle then, isn't it? It's we can't give the fans what they want because whenever they do, they're never happy anyway. And the fans are like, yeah, because you're not really doing the thing we want properly.
It's weird. Like, all of the fan base, so all of WWE fans and WWE were in a relationship that wasn't working. But neither were leaving.
No.
We're just going to stick in this horrible time.
In fairness, it did work out for us because, the product's good again now.
Yeah,
so
eventually.
What we did is
because the old guy left.
We stuck with this relationship for 20 years, and now finally it's paying off.
Okay, so
and we're being rewarded for sticking around.
Maybe we weren't in a relationship with WWE. We were in a relationship with Vince McMahon, which is a really weird thing to say. I just imagine if Cena did turn heel like he was supposed to in that 2012, 2013. He's a heel. He's the guy feuding with your Punks and your Shields and stuff like that, and your Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan going up against John Cena at WrestleMania.
Heel John Cena. I mean, yeah. What
That's
could
how
have
you
been?
would put over the people who should have been around to.
Yeah.
Because after this, Punk goes. Danielson hasn't got long left because he gets injured.
He certainly does. We're going to hit that in our timeline. He's going to get injured and lose the title.
Bray's booked into oblivion post Cena.
Sure is.
And
this
Shield,
one's going to really hurt him.
And yeah, Seth does all right, but Dean's a caricature and Roman is overpushed and results in 6 years of people booing him.
That's something I'm actually really curious to see as we go through this journey. Is spoilers were later on in our timeline, but the Shield are going to break up. Seth and Dean are going to go into a feud of their own, and Roman is just going to go straight into the main event scene for the world title. I'm curious to know how the fans, to look back on how the fans react to this, and do we start to see the seeds of the Roman hate, like the Roman hate seeping in? Because actually, when we did Survivor Series,
yeah.
there are boos for him there when he does the video promo. So, but you look at here in January, he's one of the most over people in this match. You watch the Raws leading up to this, he's the guy. Like, he is the guy of the Shield, and the fans are so into Roman Reigns. Pins Punk twice leading into the Royal Rumble, and the crowd are so behind him. So can we almost pinpoint the moment, freeze frame that moment when his heart breaks in two, and when the crowd turn on Roman?
It's probably when they have him say more than one line in a promo. I'm just gonna guess.
I mean, I had something hit me recently. It was actually today when I was finishing watching this show, and it's because we've done every Royal Rumble ever for 3 counts. And in a lot of that, we talk about how there was a lot of fan resentment towards John Cena. The Super Cena era that was like 2007 through to 2016, basically, of, fans are so sick of John Cena, hate him on top, hate that he's overpushed this and the other. And we get a lot of flack for those things of being like, no, that's just your unique perspective on that. Everyone actually did love Cena. And there's this rewriting of history because they were kids and that was their hero and now they're adults. Do you think there are going to be those kids in 2015, 2016 who will be like, no, Roman was great.
Oh, yeah.
Roman was so over. So when you talk about this in 2030, being like, man, do you remember when everyone hated Roman? They'll be like, no one hated Roman. You're just a hater. He was actually the best thing in WWE.
I saw on Reddit this morning, just as a new post, not as a hot post, didn't gain much traction, but it's an early seed, and I've never seen this before. Someone asked, does anyone else really love that Roman 2014 through to 2020 era? Why did it get so much hate?
It's starting, man. Already, it's starting.
Well, if anyone wants to argue with us, just watch this freaking show because Cena is booed out of the building.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a unique thing for us.
But not just Cena, Orton as well. People are, and I know Orton's their heel, but it's not a boo, you're a heel. It is a boo, you're still the champion.
We hated Orton as well.
Yeah.
That's another trick that everyone's just decided to start gaslighting me with. Oh no, Randy Orton's always been great. No, we hated him until 2021.
Yeah, I remember you and I said this on podcast, being like, oh, finally Orton's got good. And I was like, what are you talking about? Have you watched the last 10 years of Randy Orton matches where he's not been trying? Why are we the only people who seem to be like... No.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is we weren't the only people noticing that. We'd all been saying that for 10 years. It's a remarkable thing. But anyway, Oliver Davis, before we get into the show and the Observer Notes, it is January, let me get the exact date here, January 26th, 2014. What is the
January 6th.
26th.
26th.
What is the UK box office number 1?
January. So Guardians of the Galaxy would come out this summer.
Yes.
Because I remember looking into the Batista stuff, being like, surely he's a big megastar by now.
Nope.
Good luck in your next movie. Was that Triple H's final words?
I believe those are one of Triple H's final lines to Dave when he quits.
We didn't like Triple H either. There's another guy. We hated him for 15 years.
I know. There was a Patreon. I can't remember which episode it was on now, but someone said, like, oh, trust Luke to get his anti-Triple H agenda in. And I was like, yeah, because no one liked him. No one liked him until 2015.
Politics, he buried everybody.
He's the reason Montreal happened. It was his idea and he pushed for it.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing you he never existed. Okay, movie. It's January. It's award season 2014. The Artist. I don't know. Is that
that might be
this time?
2013 or 2012?
It's an award season style movie.
It is award season style movie. It is like big name plus big actor plus big story equals, you know, hand me the awards now, please.
Is it La La Land? I mean Moonlight.
It's not that
Oscar's
either.
joke. I didn't. That's not a serious pick. No. Big name, big story.
Yeah.
Blindside?
No. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, no, it's like all-timer director, actor who just can do no wrong in a... I mean, it's a biopic, I'll give you that, because that's also a nice little bit of Oscar bait. In case anyone knows, I hate the Oscars. Like, I really, really hate the Academy Awards, because it's not the best movies of the year. It is the best movies of the last 3 months that have been released specifically for us to like.
Yeah, and Godzilla -1's never been considered.
And it should be. That should win best... I mean, not even just best foreign language movie. It should just win best movie, because it was the best movie of the last year. It's a perfect film. It's a perfect movie, right, Adam? It's a perfect 10 out of 10 movie.
Can you just give me the actor?
Leo.
Biopic with Leo in. Leo doesn't make that many movies.
I should say DiCaprio, not of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I didn't make that mistake. Don't worry. Oh, this is the bit that's going to translate least to video. It's just me thinking.
I mean, I never cut out any of the thinking time.
No. Well,
I can tell
Adam cuts this out of Survival series. Can't you just edit me like going,
It beat 12 Years a Slave.
Okay.
Which had previously beaten American Hustle. I can kind of like put you maybe into that.
I like
mindset.
American Hustle as a movie.
Yeah.
Tits and wigs.
The best thing is the space oven. That's the best thing in the movie. It's like, why'd you break the space oven?
Oh God, yeah, I know this. Yeah, 12 Years a Slave. Leo, what? So who directs Leo? There's only like 3 people, right? Is it a Scorsese movie?
It is.
I can only think of Shutter Island. There's probably an obvious one here.
Obviously is a biopic.
It's not a biopic. What? Imagine if that was real. This is really annoying me.
I think Adam knows the answer as well. So
Yeah,
I'm going to throw.
smug look on
I'm going to
his
throw
face.
to Adam. Do you not know? You giving up?
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street. It's Wolf of Wall Street.
Of course. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, mate. But yeah, it was Wolf of Wall Street.
Did it win Best Picture? I don't think it did. I think 12 Years.
Let's have a look. I'm going to awards, contents.
Well, this is the sort of thing you should be doing on your new. Well, while you do that, maybe we need to sort out the positioning of this. Progress.
Accolades.
January
Awards.
2014.
Academy
I wanna
Awards.
see the
It was nominated for Best Picture. So it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay, but didn't win any of them.
So just typing in progress gets me a lot of text. Progress Wrestling episode. Yeah. It was on the 26th. It was the same day.
No.
I must have gone to it and watched the Rumble the next day.
Okay, well, let's see. Consent.
This is on PW. Oh, God damn it. Here we go. So the card was I mean, most of these guys are probably going to be cancelled by now.
Yeah.
Screw Indie Wrestling. The tag team of Mark Haskins and Nathan Cruz beat
Haskins!
the Bastard, Dave Mastiff, and Styx. Natural Progression Series quarterfinal. Flash Morgan Webster versus Josh Bodum. Noam Dar versus El Ligero. Noam Dar, of course, now in NXT. Progress tag title match of FSU, which is Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews, still going strong on the indie scene, versus the Swords of Essex, Paul Robinson and Will Ospreay.
Yep.
When Will Ospreay was just a kid who did flips in a tag team.
Just a kid from Essex. Because this would be pre-Ricochet, right? This would be the pre-the Ricochet match.
Well in advance.
Yeah.
Rampage Brown versus Tommy
End.
Malachi Black now, of course. And the Progress Championship match with the special referee of Marty Scurll, Jimmy Havoc versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yep. One of those guys came out of that really well.
Yeah, well, I saw... So, yeah, that's what I was... If you want the exact thing I was doing...
I'm close, Safari. We need that.
I'll get it. That is exactly what I was doing on this day.
On this
in wrestling
day.
history.
What is the number one song?
Number one song 2014. I'm not going to know these ones. Calvin Harris?
It's a re-entry at the number one position, beating out Timber by Pitbull and Kesha.
Which is a song about erections, isn't it?
Is it?
I got a timber.
You're going down.
Yeah, it's like timber, I'm pretty sure, is like wood, which is like an erection. And Kesha is going to help you out with...
I mean, I've gone to controversy. It's just saying they ripped off the melody.
Well, I don't think it's controversial to write a pop song with a sexual undercurrent.
I guess not.
I don't think it would be in that section.
Do you want to have a guess?
I think it would be in themes and interpretations.
It's not in there either.
No,
It's not Calvin Harris.
Pitbull.
You did that. I've just said Pitbull.
Oh, Pitbull's in that song. Who's the other guy?
He's the artist.
Flo Rida.
It's not Flo. It's not Florida either. Because you and I, when we were talking about like the prep for this series, you did say like, "Oh, I'm going to be so bad at the music section because." I mean, you have just come from 4 Music.
Oh, yeah, but like 2 years beforehand. Pop music moves fast.
Okay. It's for a movie. It's for an animated movie. And no one remembers it's for an animated movie.
It's Justin Timberlake's...
Not that, no.
From Trolls, right?
No, well, Trolls is well after this. It's 2014.
And from an animated... What's the animated movie?
Why don't you go double check? Yeah, I was right. It's the animated movie is Despicable Me 2.
Oh, I don't know. I've got no idea.
It's Pharrell Williams' Happy.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's the number one song at the chart at this point in time.
Whenever anybody chooses Pharrell Williams' Happy on Desert Island Discs, I think less of them. It's a good song. You're going to tap your foot to it, undoubtedly. But it's a grandma song. It's a song that at a wedding, the old fogies will enjoy also. And that makes me think less of it. Am I a bad person?
No, I think it's fine. It's the sort of song that my mum at my wedding would have come up to me and been like, "Can you get the DJ to play some songs?"
Yeah, that new song that
Yeah,
but Bruno Mars fits in the same category.
That's another good one, yeah. Yeah, Bruno Mars is exactly the song. Sex on Fire is another one.
I don't like songs that transcend generational boundaries because I think that weakens their artistic integrity.
I was listening to a podcast on the way here, which is the most millennial way to start a conversation, where they were...
I think hosting a podcast on my way here is the most millennial way to start a conversation.
That was talking about Michael Bublé and being like, I was told when he came big in 2013 that it's for old people, but I'm now an old person and I still don't like him. So I'm wondering, when do I hit that age when I like Michael Bublé?
When you give up.
Some Observer notes. We're going to start off with a little bit of ratings chat here. Raw on the 27th, so the night after WrestleMania, did 4.7 million viewers.
4.7?
Yeah, with the exception of last week's show with Batista, it was the best Raw viewership number since the 3rd of November.
Of course, football season's over. We'll give current day ratings the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
This week's Raw, when we're recording this on a Monday, which is the Go Home Rumble episode, probably 1.7, 1.8 mil.
About that, yeah.
That is 2.5 times larger.
Last year's Raw, for comparison, did just over 5 million viewers, 5.01.
3 hours a week. That's a way to lose your audience.
Yeah, well, the 3 hours were 4.85 million, then down to 4.84 million, down to 4.47 million. SmackDown did 3.03 million viewers.
What?
Tying the 22nd of November show for the highest rated SmackDown in 11 months.
They were probably thinking, oh, that's a rough number. That's a bit of a rampage number we pulled out there.
This was the final show before the Royal Rumble. It's the second highest rated show on cable. On Did You Know? They touted that it more than doubled the NBA game that same night, which is true, as an NBA game on TNT going head-to-head did 1.33 million viewers. Impact did 1.56 million viewers.
Oh my God, that's depressing.
For a show built around Magnus versus Sting for the TNA title, with Sting having his contract torn up and leaving if he lost.
Again,
which was his story for all of the 10 years he was with TNA. Also had Bobby Roode versus Kurt Angle in a cage match.
TNA in 2014 pulled in 1.5 million viewers.
I mean, that actually is they said here it's the most viewers for the show since January 2013, and it's the highest actual rating in 2 years. That's a big number for TNA.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy and his wife Rebecca Hardy were both arrested on assault charges on the 1st of January. TMZ reported the incident after obtaining mugshots and a copy of a 911 call which led to the arrests. An employee of the Hampton Inn in Virginia called 911 at 5:45 a.m., saying that she had been told there was a man beating the hell out of his wife or girlfriend in one of the rooms. She said that she was the only employee on staff and was scared to go in there. Police arrived at the room and found both Hardy and Rebecca, with marks on their faces and took them both in. Both were arrested for assault and battery and each filed restraining orders against the other. They were released on $3,500 bond. The two apparently made up since, as Hardy used social media often, has talked about his beautiful wife many times since the incident, and has posted photos of the two of them together. They've also continued to do wrestling shows together since that date, in Ring of Honor, where Hardy is a semi-regular headliner, and they were completely blindsided by this news.
Well, yeah, because I believe he was Big Money Matt at this point in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he dropped El Diablo, right?
Yeah, so or if he's not Big Money Matt yet, he would soon become it. Which was a fun heel gimmick, if I'm honest, but work rate-wise, whoa, there was a gulf between him and the rest of that Ring of Honor roster.
No, did you know what that screams? TNA World Champion. That's
exactly,
what that screams.
And that's why he was perfect, because the year after that, him and Reba Sky would seemingly be on great terms and creatively fulfilled, because that's broken Matt Hardy.
That's 2016?
I swear it starts in 2015.
Might be. Yes, it is, because 2016 is when they leave TNA, right? Anyway, don't expect anything too soon from Jeff Jarrett and his new promotion.
Yeah! When are we going to do the fall of GFW?
You really can't expect that kind of operation that he and Toby Keith are looking to do without a television deal in place.
Never count Jarrett out.
Most likely that wouldn't come until the full season at the earliest, and a key may be Spike's contract with TNA, which expires in October, and what decision Spike will make at that time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Spike are looking at Jeff Jarrett and Toby Keith and go, maybe we go with this guy.
The AAA stuff probably won't be on TV until the full season on the El Rey Network.
Oh, I remember the El Rey Network. They did Lucha Underground.
It was Robert Rodriguez's station. In some Ring of Honor news, I did mention this on the preview show for this, but Roderick Strong at the last minute had to pull out of wrestling in the Pittsburgh show because of his neck health. Neck health strong. The show in Pittsburgh the night before the Rumble drew just under 1,000 paid and more than 1,000 total, which is way above the usual levels. The main event was a three-way where if someone pinned Adam Cole, they would get a title shot. Michael Elgin and Chris Hero won the three-way over Cole and Matt Hardy and the Briscoes. Matt Hardy pinned Mark Briscoe with a twist of fate to eliminate them. Hero pinned Cole after an elbow, so Hero is getting the title shot. Elgin attacked Hardy after the match, as a main event was said to be disappointing as it dragged.
Yes. Well, I remember this era actually quite well, because Elgin, since sort of quite disgraced, but at the time, he was a great wrestler. I loved him. And I remember watching these feuds and one of these guys isn't fitting in here. Briscoes, Chris Hero, Michael Elgin, Adam Cole. Matt Hardy.
On WWE, an interesting note on Extreme Rules being in Seattle, which we're going to be reviewing. That's our next episode, is Extreme Rules. Seattle was not the original site. That tells me if they were going to change it, it means they're going to build the show in some form around Bryan, and that decision was made 2 weeks ago. Whether that means they give him a title win on that show, have him defend it for the first time, or they do an angle where they kill him dead, I don't know. But given the reaction the last time they were there and making a change to go with that city instead of run from that city, it's to take advantage of that reaction this time with them knowing it's coming and having it work for them instead of hijacking their plans, which is what happened the last time they were in Seattle.
Which is the famous segment where you've got all the world champions in the ring and Triple H is trying to do my Triple H story. And everyone just wants to chant for Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and CM Punk starts to giggle. In what was a huge surprise to me, Pro Wrestling Noah star Kenta has been at the Performance Center since Sunday for a several-day tryout.
Yeah.
Speaking of NXT about to get good, and basically this is Triple H's new plan for NXT, which is, we could train stars of the future, or we just bring in the best wrestlers from around the world and just sign them here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Hideo Itami would not be one of those guys.
No.
Because he just injured all the time, unfortunately.
I mean, Dave goes on. There's a really good diatribe here about how that the Kenta thing has its ironies. Kenta was one of the hot young stars in Japan a decade ago, and Punk in particular copied a lot of his stuff, including the GTS, and made it his own in the US market. He was also one of Daniel Bryan's favorite wrestlers, and Bryan's Busaiko knee was Kenta's other finisher. Except for his really fast kick and chop routine that Punk used to do when he first came in, and was either told not to or stopped on his own, almost all of his big moves are already established by someone else here, which means he's going to have to drop his biggest spots. And he eventually did, really. Well, he did do the GTS because obviously Punk's gone. Thumbs up for this show, 41.5%. Thumbs down, 39.9%. In the middle, 18.6%.
That is I'm surprised there are more thumbs up than thumbs down for this pay-per-view.
Dave does note that it feels very split. What do you have a guess?
I don't think it should be split. I think this is an overwhelmingly bad show.
Do you want to have a guess of what the best match was?
Let me just check my notes. What's on there? Best match.
I mean,
Danielson, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Of course it was, yeah. There are only 4 matches on this card. And worst match?
Now I'm looking at your notes. That's why I can't see anything properly. That is an interesting one. Worst match. I'm gonna go for Cena Orton.
Correct. Yeah, it did win. So, our story so far. We watched a couple of episodes of Raw leading up to this to kind of get a feel for the breakup of the Shield and how things have actually slightly changed on the breakup of the Shield since they first started this story back in October of 2013. So that was when the first seeds were being planted for the breakup of the Shield, which was going to happen relatively soon, and then got derailed and then actually gets pushed back until we get to the point where we do eventually get to it. But the seeds were first planted in late October, where Rollins and Reigns had lost the tag titles on the 14th of October edition of Raw to the Rhodes Brothers. And then they have this backstage promo on the 28th edition of Raw, where Ambrose is talking about he's defending the United States Championship against Big E Langston. And that was a big deal for him, because not only is Big E Langston a tough dude, he's the only champion in the Shield now, and he's got to represent this group. And the camera slightly pulls back, because the gimmick of the Shield was they were holding the camera. Like, they didn't do standard promos to camera. It's Roman's holding the camera or Rollins, and they're handing the camera back and forth to each other. Like, they've hijacked the show, they're filming themselves.
It's cool.
It is cool. And Roman sort of slightly pulls back the camera to reveal that he and Rollins are staring daggers into Ambrose while he's bragging about being the only champion in the Shield.
Yeah. Ambrose had beaten Big E the previous night at Hell in a Cell.
Well, yeah, but, so he knows how tough of a test this is.
Do you remember this? This is how bad this era was. I forgot a lot of this stuff. WWE would book the pay-per-view. You'd have the pay-per-view on a Sunday, and then the next night on Raw, you'd have the same freaking card.
Yeah.
It's a rematch from last night's epic time. Well, then why do any of this?
So because you see how good that match is, and then you buy the pay-per-view to see the other one.
Surely nobody did that.
Of course they didn't. Replay buys were never that big.
Yeah. Do you know what came before this segment, by the way?
What did come before this?
Damien Sandow cashing in his money
That's
in the
right,
bank
yeah.
contract. And the crowd just go ballistic because Cena's the champion. And oh my God, Cena's going to lose the belt. We hate Cena. Everyone's cheering. This is awesome. Yes, yes, yes. And then Cena just beats Sandow.
Yeah.
And the commentary are just putting over, wow, Cena
That John Cena
overcame Damien Sandow.
Sure did. We are still in a period of time there in October where there are 2 world titles, but they then will be merged together in the following months. Do you remember they did a poll for that? I'm going to bring this up on the screen here. They did a poll for you, the fans, to name that world title. Let me see if you can spot a flaw with this.
Yeah.
WWE poll to name world title 2014. Oops, 2015. 2014. All right, okay. See if you can spot a thing with this image here.
Okay, so for audio ones, it's John's. Is that John Cena?
It's John
and Randy
Cena, Randy
Orton,
Orton,
champion after TLC. Cena's got the heavyweight championship. Orton's got the WWE championship.
Yeah, so
They're
what?
gonna unify it.
They've asked you, the fans. You've given you 3 options. What do you want this title to be called after they unify it?
So we've got the unified champion, which got 38%. The undisputed WWE champion, which got 31%, and the undisputed world champion, 31%.
Yeah. What do you see as a problem with that image?
I can't see any problems with it.
It's not what the title's called. The title is called the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
Because what they did is they put that poll up, got an answer, was like, actually, I don't like any of those.
Yeah.
We're just going to name it ourselves. And that is WWE in 2013, 2014. They've asked the fans, tell us what you want. The fans tell them, like,
Nah, we're not going to do that.
we're not going to do that, actually. Psych.
Why even ask?
Why ask us then? So at TLC 2013, where they did rename this belt, Punk beat the Shield 3-on-1.
Famously so.
Yeah, and Rollins collided with Ambrose, and then Punk pushed Rollins into him. Roman speared Ambrose, and then Punk pinned him. So Punk pinned Ambrose, being obviously not pinning Reigns.
Well, famously from Punk's 2014 shoot promo podcast with Colt Cabana, he told the Make Roman Look Strong story.
That's right, yeah. The whole point of this match was to make Roman look strong.
Which is what some people say is what caused the fallout between Roman and Punk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you can see why Seth might have fallen out with Punk. But, why did Reigns fall out with Punk? And people say, because you can't see anything that Punk's ever said about Roman. The only thing he's ever said about Roman is that story. And that story was told in 2014 in November when Survivor Series, the week after Survivor Series, the week after Roman was coming back. Tide was already starting to turn against Reigns. Punk tells a story about management saying to him, you got to make Roman look strong, got to make Roman look strong. Punk wasn't making a point about Reigns. He was making a point about WWE management forcing Reigns into the booking. But it just caught on with the fan base. Oh, we're not imagining things. He is being forced down our throats.
He's seen it again.
And that might be the spark that ignited the next 5 years of Roman hate.
It's not a bad, theory, really. Because you can, string this all together. And as we said, we're going to kind of chart this a little bit as we go along. But this is where Rollins talked about this on the Edge and Christian Pod of Awesomeness. And he noted this is where the group was supposed to split up. He said, the breakup was not our idea and we were not ready for it. We hadn't had a run as a babyface at the time. We'd just done heel stuff and we came off this program with CM Punk where it was CM Punk versus The Shield. And I remember we did this 3-on-1 handicap match at TLC in December and we lost to him, I think in a 3-on-1 match, and they were ready to split us up within the next month. I remember that was the plan. They're going to break us up. Dean Ambrose was going to turn and it was just going to be almost thrown away. I remember we went to Hunter or Vince or someone. We talked to someone that makes decisions and we were like, we can't do this. We're not ready for this right now. It's not the right time. We've got so much to offer. It's not the right time. We need to pull back on this.
Wow. Well, fair play to them. Totally agree.
Yeah. So what they're going to do was to split them up in either December or January, and then just the three of them would move on. They probably would have been broken up before the Rumble. But what happens is they're still heels leading into the Rumble. And then, I mean, Rollins has also said, like, we haven't feuded with the Wyatts yet. And you've kind of already been teasing us for having a feud with the Wyatts. So why do we do the Wyatts match first? Then they get over as massive baby faces. Then they're like, we'll keep us going as baby faces. And then they get into the Evolution feud, which is the next part of our story.
Wow.
But they were still teasing the breakup of the Shield here, because the other segment that we did watch was on January 6th edition of Monday Night Raw, Old School Raw. Did you watch this? I mean, you did
yeah.
If you were at this period of time, yeah.
I forgot that Old School Raws were such a thing. That was like a big ratings driver at the time. Was this the first one they did?
I can't remember if this was the first
It felt
one.
like it was they'd done it before.
I think
in the way the episode was presented.
I think it was. I think it had been done before. Because I think the gimmick of this one, the last moment of this, is Jake the Snake comes back. And that was like a really big deal. And I don't think they had done anything like that the year previous.
Well, it's great. They just have all even from the opening sting, you didn't have the WWE logo. You had the old WWF, the blue and gold one. And or just the graphics, the simple graphics from the 90s and when Raw first launched, you had all of that. The name bar graphics when people came out. This was like one of the rare things at the time that WWE did spot on.
And tapping into nostalgia before nostalgia was really a big thing in pop culture. But they really
Do you remember when nostalgia wasn't what it was?
I'm nostalgic for that period of time.
Yeah, when nostalgia was good.
Yeah, when nostalgia was just something you did as a little bit of fan service, not every single bit of pop culture is, hey, do you remember when this happened?
Not whole Marvel movies.
No. All Marvel. I mean, I was listening to that podcast, and they were talking about like, I can totally see them bringing back Ben Affleck as Daredevil for a cheap pop, in a movie screen, because that's what a lot of them there for.
Yeah.
You put Charlie Cox, spoilers. You put Charlie Cox in Spider-Man. Why? Yeah, people cheer when you go to the pictures. Then it's like a sitcom when a guest star appears.
Well, The Flash.
Yeah.
is effectively that, the Flash movie. I don't say it because I do think if you haven't seen it, it's the one thing worth seeing in the movie. Annoyingly, it's right at the end, so you have to sit through the rest of it.
Yeah, not a good movie.
No, but the final cameo reveal. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
That almost made me like the movie. I forgot about the rest of it.
Problem is that person has also said, I'm never doing that again. So the whole thing's redundant.
Well, it was just a bit of fan service. That was just a bit of throwaway cameo.
I guess. I really did not like that Flash movie. And a lot of it's kind of gross. My favourite part of that, though, is, and this isn't a spoiler because this is talked about quite a bit, is Nicolas Cage's cameo in it as Superman. Because someone made the point, I was like, that's not even nostalgia for a movie. That's nostalgia for a director telling a story on a DVD. That's incredible. That's the level of nostalgia they're reaching into.
Yeah, and they don't once feature the Batman from the Nolan movies. I feel like you're burying the lead here, guys.
Yeah.
You're trying to show a multiverse of possibilities.
So anyway, yeah, we are getting into the show now. And the story is
do we not want to cover the
Piper
Piper
sorry,
bit a bit
got
more?
the Piper's Pit. You're absolutely right. So as they're making their entrance, this is, how they were putting over, this is the story we're going with at the moment. Obviously, that story does get dropped, that they're going to keep them together. But Cole is like, there are cracks in this team, and the cracks are starting to show. And this whole segment here is designed to get the crowd on board with, this group is breaking up, and Roman's the guy.
Yeah, because, Ambrose's performance here is really, really good. I forgot how, because I just got so used to Wacky Dean, and then Moxley, yeah. But actually, Shield Ambrose, I can see the origins of Moxley in. It's like he had this weird 5-year detour of Wacky Dean.
Yeah.
But his promo, the weird cadence in which he speaks, and the interactions with Piper here really remind me of that first great promo I ever saw of his, which is the Mick Foley one at the Rumble weekend. It just feels like, it doesn't feel like how other people talk.
Yeah, well, I think there's a reason why in 2014, he kind of becomes the fans' pick. I think leading into this, the fans' pick was definitely like Rollins' early doors. I remember like Observer Radio used to talk about this a lot of like, well, Roman's the guy, so he's obviously going to get pushed. Rollins is really good in ring, so he's definitely going to get like his mid-card run. Because that's basically what would happen. If you weren't a main eventer, you were just IC title fodder. Forever, just swapping the belt back and forth with everyone else who's IC title fodder. Maybe it'll be the US title. We'll shake it up a little bit. You get moved to a different brand. But Ambrose, they were like, he'll be the guy that's left out. And I think Ambrose kind of almost like forces himself into being the guy. And like he becomes, by the end of 2014, it was like, oh no, actually I think Ambrose is the one we should be pushing out of these three.
Piper says to him that there's only one person as good on the mic as him, Roddy Piper. And it's kind of built up to say Dean Ambrose, but he goes, CM Punk. And that's what starts to build, so CM Punk could beat you, Dean Ambrose. CM Punk could beat you, Seth Rollins. And then he gets to Roman Reigns, who's got a match with CM Punk that night. Do you think you can beat Punk?
Because if you can beat Punk, that means that you're better than these two. And later on in the show, Reigns does beat Punk.
Yeah. It's a nice bit of storytelling. Piper specifically says, is that a crack in the shield? Are they holding you back? And the crowd chant yes.
Yeah.
They're into the idea of Roman breaking out soon.
We did like Roman at this point as fans. The following week, so New Age Outlaws and Punk basically come out to make the save, and that builds to a 6-man the following week, which is Punk and the New Age Outlaws versus the Shield. And the New Age Outlaws abandon Punk in the match, turning heel in the process. They win the tag titles on the pre-show for the Rumble, and Reigns pins Punk 2 weeks in a row.
Before Punk and the New Age Outlaws make the save, though, the Shield kind of gather round Piper in what I can only describe as a Warriors kind of way.
Clicking bottles together.
Yeah.
Piper, come out to play.
Dean's going, oh, what do you want to do to him now, Roman? You want to, maybe you want to show him what we're all about. And Seth Rollins is off mic going, Mr. Piper, Mr. Piper, come out to play. Because I thought, just as I mentioned there about Ambrose becoming Moxley with a weird, wacky Dean in between, I didn't think Seth Rollins was so in the Shield run.
No.
But actually watching him back, that bit, Mr. Piper, and after one line he goes,
he was
just very slightly.
He was always there, waiting to come out. Because really, that Rollins character is in every run that I suppose it will have from this point on. When he's a heel with the authority.
I would argue not a character. It's a laugh.
People like
He's
it.
not a character.
Why wasn't he
it's an entrance music.
Why wasn't he in the best 10 wrestlers of 2023, Ollie? Come on, why wouldn't you answer that?
Because he annoys me. His current gimmick makes me want to stop watching.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, let's not say that because we are recording this on the day of...
Oh, yes.
He might be announcing that he's vacating the title.
Well, of course, I'd say character. I don't want the actual person to be unwell.
So, review of this show from Dave Meltzer. Based on the Royal Rumble, the stock price, and all other major stories, we are entering a period where it's going to be easier for WWE to make far more money with less actual popularity than any time in pro wrestling history.
Oh, that's a significant change in the business model then.
Because not only is that the network is being released, that's driving the stock price up. They've also going into TV rights negotiations again, and they're going to be getting more money from USA Network. That's driving the stock price up. So Dave's point there is like, this company is massively unpopular at the moment with its audience, but they're making more money than they ever have before.
Fascinating, because of course, 2024 is when the current TV contracts are up. They were re-signed. Those deals were first signed in 2019. So 5-year deals, 2014.
Yeah, and we're entering into that
contract
season now.
year.
Yeah, creative, the driving force behind most wrestling companies historically, is now in both a no-lose and no-win situation. And no-lose because unless you become WCW bad, and that actually takes a level of talent that nobody in the company has, you're bulletproof. Bad creative and house shows are going to do well because they're relatively rare. TV money is a cushion at the level nobody has had, and pay-per-view, good or bad, is going to be relatively the same each month because with 6-month contracts, the success of the impulse buys that used to fuel that aspect of the business will largely be gone. The idea that you buy the network for 6 months, that's effectively a pay-per-view buy.
Yeah, there's no There's
more
no
than
need
pay-per-view
for the
buys.
company to put on a great pay-per-view show for you to have to actively buy it.
Yeah, particularly because, they were giving out free subscriptions and stuff. Really, what they're looking to do is almost use the pay-per-views to drive TV ratings. Catering to the largest part of your audience to draw the most people is going to be replaced with having to cater and pacify, especially the big shows, the hardest of the hardcores who come from all over the world and may be different from the actual masses that watch the television, or even those who buy the merchandise and attend the matches all the other nights of the weeks. Fans who pay their money have every right to find a way to entertain themselves. They can cheer or boo whatever they want. If I was a writer, I'd be frustrated if I was writing a good long program and it gets caught or ruined in the crossfire of an audience that has other ideas. But that's just part of the new job description, and you've got to deal with it. At the Royal Rumble, the idea going in was that the big items on the show were to kick off the build for the key WrestleMania matches. Brock Lesnar would destroy Big Show to set him up for The Undertaker. There's little tweaks I'd have done differently, though the basic framework of a 2-minute match and a clean win is what I feared they wouldn't do, but it's exactly what they did do. If Bray Wyatt is being groomed for John Cena, he had to beat Daniel Bryan in basic booking theory. I actually thought they might go with the idea that Bryan could beat Wyatt because Wyatt would screw Cena over later and that would make up for it. Wyatt did screw Cena out of his title match with Randy Orton. With Orton as champion, the title challenger Batista would then win the Royal Rumble. The sellout crowd in Pittsburgh came in knowing the story as well. The story they knew was the flip side, that in a Royal Rumble filled with surprises, Daniel Bryan would come in as the big surprise, win, and headline WrestleMania. The reasoning is because he's the cool thing and he gets the biggest reactions. Bryan was never advertised for the Rumble, and that was actually to be part of a longer-term story, that down the line it would play into being held down when he finally does rise to a presumed real-life title run. What they didn't count on was the Bryan fans turning on the show when Bryan lost to Wyatt, outwardly attempting to kill the Orton vs. Cena title match as their interpretation of what they were being force-fed, and hate Batista, who they deep down knew was the only guy except Bryan who could actually win the Rumble. Orton was very upset after the match that was filled with chants of Daniel Bryan, "We want refunds," boring, "We want divas," yes, "We want Angle," Randy Savage, Orton actually laughed at that one, Y2J, end this match, and this is awful.
So there, obviously one of the things we make jokes about a lot is the idea that Daniel Bryan was always the plan for WrestleMania 30.
Which he wasn't. It was supposed to be him versus Sheamus.
But maybe that's just a little twist on reality. Because Meltzer does say there that they were actively booking him in a sort of restrained, keeping them down way to create that push to catapult him into a main event picture.
What is interesting in that is that Bryan then puts out a tweet that says, "I'd have loved to win the Royal Rumble, but they wouldn't let me be on the show." And, Dave here writes, that is part of the story. Like you said, Bryan's tweets about being held down at our storyline. The irony is hilarious. He's the point man for a revolution against creative, but in a sense, it's creative scripting the revolution against them. It's borderline brilliant. Except the Rumble show, the second biggest of the year, was kind of a casualty in its wake. This story actually got picked up by the BBC.
What?
A news organization that never covers pro wrestling, is seemingly above it, is reporting on a wrestling angle as if it was a news story. And
the Daniel Bryan tweet.
And I went and I found it. The BBC did run a news article about, and it says here, a WWE star has apologized to fans who were disappointed he did not appear in the Royal Rumble main event on Sunday. Daniel Bryan blamed organizers for his exclusion from the match in the United States.
I'm just going to pretend that Britain is like Japan, where we report kayfabe as reality.
I'd actually forgotten about this. Do you remember how Mick Foley got really angry about this show?
No.
So Dave writes here, Mick Foley, whose WWE contract is about to expire, claimed he was furious and went over the top on social media to the point that many in the company thought he might have been told to play the angle, though he claimed that isn't the case. He wrote on his Facebook page, "As I mentioned on Twitter," this is great, cross-platform marketing.
I remember this era of Foley. Yeah. It's like these long Facebook text messages.
There's not enough in 120 characters for me to fully... So I need to...
Read more.
So I need to...
I don't know when it ends.
I need to tweet in 120 characters, go to my Facebook page and click my post on there to read my full thoughts.
And he'd bury everything, yet somehow always turn up at Christmas time in Santa dress.
As I mentioned on Twitter, I've never felt so disgusted at the conclusion of a WWE pay-per-view. Like many of you out there, I just don't get it. The Daniel Bryan thing is a phenomenon. You get it, I get it, the fans in Pittsburgh got it. But tonight, for the first time, I had to admit to myself that the powers that be are just not going to get it. And that makes me sad. I'm just honestly sad, and it flat out, I apologize for any swearing here, flat out, by the way, there's going to be loads of swearing on this show, I've got punk quotes coming up. I just flat out fucking sad. Yes, I dropped an F-bomb there to emphasize how fucking sad I am for the guys who bust their asses night after night out. Ziggler, Punk, Bryan, with no hope of getting their shot at this year's Mania. You know who else I'm sad for? Me. In the 2 years as an official WWE ambassador, I never once had to lie about my enthusiasm for the company or the product. Now, although I am now officially an ambassador for WWE, believe it or not, my official role in WWE as the GM of Saturday Morning Slam, that ends in a month.
The GM of Saturday... What's Saturday Morning Slam?
Do you remember Saturday Morning Slam? It was a kids show that aired on Saturday mornings.
What? And yeah, I do remember that. But that was a network.
No, that was on TV.
And it had like Stone Cold. Was it? No, that's the camp.
No, you're thinking of Camp WWE.
I'm thinking of Camp WWE.
That was the South Park
yes.
thing they were trying to do. No, Saturday Morning Slam was a WWE show designed for children, like young children to watch. And it's where, like, I think Bryan has said, like, it's his favorite thing he's ever done in WWE because it was like him and Regal just goofing off for the majority of it. And yeah, Foley was the commissioner. I don't think they could do like big bumps or anything because that went against like it being for children.
What? And it's a cartoon?
No, it was a live act. It was a WWE show.
Saturday Morning Slam.
Yeah, it's like a little 20-minute show, and it's wrestling. And Daniel Bryan really likes bears.
Was this on it?
Yeah.
How do we listen to the? I think you've got to turn it up full right so it catches on the.
Me and the koala bear have a lot in common. We're both hairy, furry creatures. We're two of a kind. Bears. Dog bears. You know, wrestling tensai is like wrestling a bear. You know, what do you do to a bear? I've actually wrestled bears. You know who else has wrestled bears? No, who? Stu Hart. Arn Anderson. We've all wrestled bears. Okay? You can't be a champion until you can beat a bear. This time attempting to slam Tensai. Trying to slam the bear. Oh my gosh, what is he doing here?
This is now a separate match.
That may confuse Antonio Cesaro, but that would never work on a bear. Obsessed with discussing superstars competing against bears. Listen, I've competed against bears, I've beat bears, okay? I'm a big believer that if it doesn't work on a bear, you don't do it in the ring. Can we move on from the bear discussion now? Shut up! We might. Daniel Bryan has an obsession with bears. I love bears, all sorts of bears. Black bears, polar bears, koala bears, brown bears, grizzly bears, which is also a kind of brown bear. If he really wants to work that stomach, he should put on a bear hug. Oh, there it is! There it is!
It's a shame Josh Matthews is included.
I'm trying not to laugh.
Holy cow, he has him!
Cesaro definitely did this as a rib with Bryan.
That was Saturday Morning Slam.
Yeah, it was a kids show.
Okay. They should have had kids in the audience. It's just, I don't want my
adults.
kids show just have like loads of me. It's like 35, 30-year-old guy. We're all wearing the same t-shirt.
Anyway, Foley continues here. I'm still looking forward to being part of the biggest event of the year. I'll probably end up going anyway, but I'm about a sixth of excited I was just a few hours ago. I wanted so badly to hear 75,000 WWE fans chanting yes and seeing fans walk away absolutely ecstatic about the outcome of a pay-per-view for the first time in a while. A long while. But when given the chance to make it happen, WWE's answer right now was a resounding no, no, no. One talent said
goes
that...
on.
What? No, it doesn't go on.
Oh.
This is Dave's now.
Oh, good.
One talent said that if Foley had voiced his opinion previously, it would be one thing, but he buried us only when his contract was expiring, but then said he's going to go to WrestleMania anyway. The funny part is that same person noted that actually everyone agrees with what he said. His son Dewey also went on a tirade about it, but I won't go into all of that. It's more or less the same.
He was a writer at one point.
He
Was
becomes
he
a
here?
writer. He does write here. Without my dad, Triple H is a mid-carder. My dad went out of his way to make sure that he turned Triple H into the intimidating, scary, cerebral assassin, son of a bitch that he has become. So it's about time that people who deserve to be the best are given the opportunity to show it. WWE is a fucking dictatorship, and it's truly a shame. He would go on to work for the company shortly thereafter.
Again, if people think we are being too harsh on Cena and WWE at the time, people who were actually working for the company at the time were saying the same stuff.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing there is that Foley said, nope, this is not a work. I wasn't told to write this. But there are people in the company who believe that, no, that's how he feels. And that is Mick Foley's opinion. So let's get into the show itself, shall we?
Yes.
And it is funny as well because this show is built around not just the return of Batista, and Batista's going to win the Royal Rumble. It's kind of like what Dave was saying then. It's Dave's winning the Royal Rumble, and Orton versus Cena is the biggest match that WWE can do. It's the biggest rematch in WWE history. They go at so great lengths to say this is bigger than, to basically present to you, this is bigger than Steve Austin versus The Rock. This is bigger than Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. This is the biggest thing this company has ever put on. And they have no idea what's going to happen when it actually gets to this, or how this crowd's going to react when they get to the bell.
This is WWE's other thing at the time. And, honestly, up until Triple H recently took the reins, they would just say things over and over again in the hope that they would stick. Not even in the hope, just like, this is it, this is our storyline. Like, reality is also a storyline to them. When they did the greatest wrestling match ever between Randy Orton and Edge in the pandemic, that sort of mentality. And it's just such a carny way of promoting a wrestling company.
Yeah, but they just truly believed it. And like all the promos leading up to this,
They didn't believe it. It was just something
Of course they did.
just something to do marketing with.
No, they looked at the house show numbers and were like, this is the biggest rematch we do. Stephanie was on TV there being like, this is the biggest rematch that this company
They
could
don't
possibly do.
believe that.
Of course they believe it.
That's the line that they've done to sell this
I mean, yeah,
on a contract year for TV
No,
negotiations.
I agree that it's a line that is said in order to be a promotional tool for this. I also believe that they believe that this is the biggest rematch ever.
I disagree.
You don't think that they think Cena versus Orton is a big match?
No, I think they're just saying that. They've had a meeting and like, oh, we could promote it as like the biggest rematch of all time. And everyone's like, yeah, that works. But because they don't have to be historically accurate.
You don't think Madman McMahon believes that this is a big match?
I don't think he cares.
Okay, well, that's two different things, I guess.
I think he just says whatever he needs to say to make what he thinks is a successful business. Doesn't matter if he believes it. Doesn't matter if it has any grounding in fact. Mm-hmm. He will just say things to get people to what he thinks will make people watch.
I think
and that's a wrestling promoter.
I think there is a certain element of truth to that. I really do. But I also believe he thinks this is a big-time match. Because the way that the commentators talk about it later on, like, he fully believes. And you can see backstage videos of this before. It's people like, oh, they just boo him in one city. That's not indicative of everywhere else in the country, even though it happens in every city around the country.
It's an act.
Yeah?
I think it's all an act, that they're just like, it's like the attendance figures. Everything they say is an exaggeration.
I also think as well that they genuinely they don't care that the crowd boos him.
Randy Orton seems to care.
Yeah, but he's a heel.
I think it probably gets to them, but they're annoyed that the audience aren't behaving the way they want to.
I think WWE are probably annoyed that they don't behave, particularly on this show. But I think in general, them booing John Cena at every show they do does not bother them in the slightest. Because like Michael Hayes, they've been like, it's just one town. You can't book for one town. Got to book for the whole world. The whole world likes John Cena. So just do that instead. That's the line they tell you backstage.
With Cena, I think they do believe that. They've convinced themselves that the divisive reaction is good for Cena because it's noise and the numbers are there. But I don't think they like the reaction to Orton versus Cena because that's crapping on the whole match. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, this is a crap company, WWE.
Yeah, and I think you might be right on that one. I don't think they were particularly thrilled with the reaction that this match gets. But also, like, I think the crowd in the build-up to it were also telling them, we're not going to like this match much because they were booing the announcement of it. But yeah, they also talk about like that. I think that's the kind of the selling point of this. But they then talk about the Rumble. You know, the winner of the Rumble, which will likely be Batista, is going to WrestleMania, and the road to WrestleMania begins. And we're on year 3 of a winner we don't want, I think.
So this is the opening video package.
Yeah.
It does feel like it's just one little bit about Batista.
Yeah.
I think Triple H, again, just didn't see Batista as a big deal back then.
I disagree, because I think they brought him in to be like... I think they thought bringing back Batista was going to do the same level of business that bringing back The Rock, did 2 years previous. Because like The Rock kind of set a template for it, which is you bring back a big star from the old days and you give them a big like win at the Royal Rumble and you set up a big Mania main event, which will do a big buy rate number because nostalgia is the driving force. And then the next year, you bring back the next old-timer. That will be the next part-time guy to bring in.
It's definitely part-time season. That's the era of this.
It's part-timer mania for the last couple of years, but we are like really heading into that part-timer mania.
But it's that opening video package is so focused on Cena Orton, which is weird for the Rumble. When the Rumble match is always like the most fun thing about the Rumble show.
It's because they believe that this is a big-time rematch. It's not just carny nonsense, and it is. But I think they do genuinely believe that this is the match that people want to see. And I'm probably looking at the data there to show that the casual audience are excited for this. Our commentators for the evening are Michael Cole, JBL, and Jerry the King Lawler, a.k.a. the worst trio of commentators.
Is it the worst? It's up there, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't think there's ever a JBL Booker combination with Cole. Like, that would be the worst.
Is there a striker, match striker combo?
There's a striker JBL Cole combo that you could probably point to. But for my money, this is the worst commentary trio because it's bland Michael Cole, who's just saying, words that are written on a sheet for him.
But could be worse. Could be heel Michael Cole.
Could be heel Michael Cole. 2011 Michael Cole, which is worse. It's JBL being his most JBL ball game and just shouting random things. And it's a disinterested Jerry the King Lawler who doesn't watch the product but just shows up and just says whatever it is that he needs to say.
Do you want to hear JBL's opening line to this show? So Michael Cole is introduced.
It's the Royal Rumble, Michael. It's the biggest nanny. We're on the road to WrestleMania. Is it something along those lines?
I'm like a fat kid in a pizza buffet. I'm in heaven. What a way. Like Bradshaw immediately bullying fat kids.
Yeah.
Just open the show like that.
Well, he's got to get ready for his Royal Rumble debut later in the night.
Fun spot.
His Royal Rumble debut. It's not his debut. Just going to put that out now. He's been in Rumbles before.
15,000 fans, Michael Cole announced that. So it's probably like 11,200.
I think you're actually not far off.
Oh, can I guess the exact amount?
Yes.
Do you have the exact?
I haven't got the exact. I've got a roundabout number, but I can see if I can find the exact number.
So I couldn't say like 11,293.
Exact Royal Rumble 2014. I know we've got a computer there, but it's quick for me to do it.
We've got to keep up the Daniel Bryan really likes Bears video, just in case. In fact, while you're doing that, I'll just fill.
In the koala bear. We're both hairy, furry creatures. We're two of a kind. Bears. Underdog bears.
Bears. Underdog bears.
I don't have an exact number for you. I can just give you a rough estimate.
How has Daniel or Bryan Danielson not had an AEW dark fun team under a mask called the Underdog Bears?
Probably because he was waiting for William Regal to step into the ring and they could do it together. Because I think that's where the Regal Bryan Ninja thing comes from, is Saturday Morning Slam.
Right.
Because I think Regal also really loved it because it's just basically doing Butlins.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to have a rough number? So 11,000.
I said 11,293.
Just over 12,000
okay.
was the number. Yeah, they announced 15,000, but it was just over 12.
I mean, by these days' standards, I know we just talked about the ratings for Raw being 4 point whatever million. It's crazy, considering today's 1.4. But 15,000 or 12,000 fans for a Rumble. I mean, what's this year's Rumble going to do? Like 40?
Well, last year's was 50 odd.
Yeah. So live event-wise, it's a great product.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well,
I mean,
but it's a hot ticket.
it is now. Oh, so you're talking about now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
now in
Now. I think you were
comparison
talking
to
about then. I was like, no, not then. But no, now it's like, yeah, they're much bigger now.
And they have way more casual eyeballs on it, but it does not translate
It's
to buying physical tickets.
It's why they're desperate to get Wembley. You know, that's why they were, teasing doing WrestleMania in London. They got no plans to do WrestleMania in London unless they can get Wembley Stadium. But AEW clearly have got a really good deal with Wembley Stadium, which is why they've got it twice. But that's the only way we're going to get WrestleMania in the UK is if they can get Wembley Stadium. And if they do get Wembley Stadium, they will sell it out much quicker than AEW. I mean, obviously AEW didn't sell out Wembley Stadium, but they would actually sell it out, and they would do it in a much quicker time. And that's what they want it for. Our opening contest is Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt. My first notes here, the crowd are super into Daniel Bryan, and that will be the story of this show.
When Wyatt's static interrupts as well for his entrance, just the commentary was insufferable from that moment for me. Because Michael Cole just goes, buzzkill.
My favorite.
So lame.
My favorite lame bit of commentary is when Bryan does a dive and King just goes, incoming Daniel Bryan. Rubbish. Like, that is crap commentary that adds nothing to the move.
Yeah, there's Jerry also had, it's a battle of the beards.
Yeah, because he just has to say things.
He's just saying things he sees.
Yeah, because he doesn't know. He has no idea who Daniel is. Daniel Bryan, rather. He has no idea who he is. No idea who Bray Wyatt is. He's just giving little cliff notes here. Daniel Bryan's got a beard. Bray Wyatt's a hillbilly. That's all he needs.
The story of this match, though, was one of the shining lights of this. They kind of run it back a couple of years later with the Autumn Viper in the Family storyline. But that Raw match, they show a replay of 2 weeks beforehand to build this. Because Daniel Bryan had been seemingly brainwashed by the Wyatt family. He's wearing the overalls. He's like Luke and Eric Rowan. And not that they've got the last name. Luke Harper and Eric Rowan.
Yeah.
And it's a cage match. And Danielson had orchestrated this master plan where he's got a cage. He's in the cage with Bray Wyatt. And that's when he turns on him, and Harper and Rowan can't get to him.
And they're stuck on the outside.
The slow yes chants
Yep.
as the crowd realise, Bryan's back. It's brilliant.
The online chatter about this, because people really dug this storyline and people were so into Bryan, they were so into the Wyatt family, because the Wyatt family were cool at this period of time. Enjoy that while you can, because that is about to be diminished. But like Daniel Bryan in particular, a lot of the online chatter was, when's he going to change his name? When's he going to change his name to Daniel Wyatt? That was what a lot of people were expecting. This week's going to be the week they're going to change it to Daniel Wyatt. They should change it to Daniel Wyatt. And I remember at the time agreeing, being like, that'd be so cool changing to Daniel Wyatt. I look back now, I'm like, but why though? Because he's called Luke Harper and he's called Eric Rowan. They've not changed their names.
Yeah, it's misunderstanding what the Wyatt family is.
There it is.
It's a cult.
Yeah.
It's not actually
not an actual-
adopting Daniel Bryan as a son.
Actual family.
I actually remember looking back. I remember because I was so into long-term booking. I got too much into long-term booking. I was like, they could have stretched this out another couple of months.
Right, Brian Alvarez.
I know. But looking back on it now, definitely the right decision.
Just a few months story. It was perfect. You're moving Wyatt on to face Cena at WrestleMania. Harper and Rowan do get ejected early. And I like Wyatt, this is okay. And he's basically like, he grabs both their heads and puts them against. It's like, I need this fight. And I want to do this fight on my own. It's like really cool. Like even though he is the baddie in this, he's like, this is my fight. I don't need you two out here. It's not the end of the world that you guys have got to be sent to the back.
I don't need you to fight this war for me,
man,
is what he says. And Rowan is Rowan. He's there. He's good. He's got a big ginger beard. But
another one of Lawless notes.
Yeah. Beards. Harper's performance here and throughout he's captivating. And, I've not really gone back and watched Luke Harper in after Brody's passing. But he is totally committed to this character. He is only ever looking at Bray. Like, he loves him. Like, there is no greater person on this earth than Bray Wyatt.
He was one of the greatest parts of that Viper in the Family storyline. That's why it should have been a triple threat.
Yeah.
Like, the story was there for that to be a great triple threat match.
After Bray sends them away, though, after the referees ejected them, Bray's like, I don't need you to fight this war for me. He turns around, straight into a Danielson top top rope leaping crossbody.
And that is when King says, "Incoming Daniel Bryan."
Yeah.
Rubbish commentary. The thing with Harper, and I think like the thing that really got me at the time when he passed, I remember Bray Wyatt put out like his thoughts on it, and he was like, "This isn't how it was supposed to go. It was supposed to be me and you wrestling in gymnasiums in our 70s as a nostalgia act. Like that's what we were supposed to do." And that's the thing I always remember about Brody's passing was this whole era where it was like, yeah, we had a great act. We were supposed to like make money off the fact that we had a small run in WWE doing the exact same characters on the indie scene. Basically, what the Honky Tonk Man does. Yeah. Or, what like the Bushwhackers did for years. I always say, yeah, really bummed me out.
It's crazy Bray's gone as well.
I know.
But Brian here is so over in a way you don't really see nowadays, because I feel even in AEW, the chants and the crowd reactions spike around moves and entrances, and particularly in WWE, entrances and finishes.
Yeah.
But Brian is consistently over in this match. From the moment he comes out, even before he comes out, the crowd are chanting yes. Right the way through to the end, they're either reacting to the match or they're chanting yes.
Yeah.
It is constant noise.
And booing Wyatt as well when he's on top, because what they want to see is Brian make his comeback. There's a great spot that Wyatt does in this that I think more people should be adopting. Or at least someone should look at that and be like, oh, I'm going to steal that as one of my signature spots. He gets Brian in the corner, like right against the ring post. So Brian's laying in the ring and he's got his head like against the ring post. And he starts doing forearms into the other side of his head. So he's forearming his head and smashing it into the ring post at the same time.
Yeah, I've written that. That's really different. I don't think I've ever seen that since.
Why don't more people... Oh, at least I would have thought someone studying their tapes be like, that's a cool spot. I'm going to add that to my repertoire because it's wicked.
Off the back of that, commentary say, oh, I think he's got a concussion. They say concussion.
Yeah.
Concussions weren't like, they weren't bad back then, though. Concussions only really started to get bad a couple of years after.
Well, CM Punk gets his quite early doors in that Rumble, and he's there for a while.
Honestly, concussions back in the day, you could get 5, 6 a night, and you work the next day. These days, you get a concussion, and you're out for a week.
You get a concussion nowadays, Twitter gets really angry about it.
Just these younger performers, they've just not got it like the old days.
Snowflakes that we got these days. Get their bell rung a little bit and have to sit out for 6 weeks.
But don't get too into this amazing spot, because Cole wants you to know that hashtag New Age Outlaws are trending worldwide because they won the tag titles on the pre-show.
They did.
That's a tag title change on a pre-show?
Well, that was the tag titles. They don't matter.
Yeah, they didn't matter at this time,
They
did they?
didn't. I mean, like, the Rhodes brothers won it off the Shield, who are like one of the hottest acts in the company. They got nothing off the back of it. Why does his spider crab thing? I remember my friend showing his partner the spider crab walk, being like, look how cool this spot is. We both thought it was the raddest thing in wrestling.
I'll tell you what makes it uncool. The commentary.
Oh, yeah.
So he does the crab walk, and Lawler goes, oh, this freak needs an exorcist. And Michael Cole says, yeah, you need Linda Blair. And then they just start going back and forth about, Linda Blair was the one who was possessed.
She had the demon.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need Linda Blair. You need was it George C. Scott who played the
Well, you might as well get
Exorcist.
William Friedkin in at this point because he can direct the exorcism that's being done.
I'm like, pay attention to the match! This is a really cool spot. But just before that, just so we don't gloss over it, because I think it's amazing from Bray's character perspective. He's done the forearms on the post into the corner, that horrible-looking concussion stuff. And Wyatt starts yelling at the fans at ringside, why don't you help him?
Oh, that's good.
It's just like, it was off a running senton on the outside, Wicked wanted to do. And it's just, you don't ever see that. Sometimes you do, like, Foley's famous ECW ones. Why do you make me break my body for your entertainment?
It's the Kane Dewey promo.
And it's that sudden switch of, I'm going to get film studies, challenging the viewer into their own complicity in the product. And, it's a classic Michael Haneke trick in fun games. And it's so cool, because all of a sudden you're watching this and you're like, yeah, wow, cool, two guys going at it. And Bray effectively turns to the camera. He doesn't look down the lens. He talks to a fan at ringside. And it's like, why are you watching this?
Yeah.
And I was just, oh my God, I feel suddenly aware of my own awfulness.
And I think backstage, Dave Bautista saw that moment. He was like, I'm going to look at that fan later on, and I'm going to swear at him because he's really annoyed that I've won the Royal Rumble. Because that's the same thing.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah. Brian starts to make a comeback, and the crowd start chanting, "This is awesome." And it is. He is on... What I love about this is that he is on such a tear. He is so fast, just pinging around the ring, and Wyatt shuts him down just with this body block. Just being like, nope, I'm stopping this down, and again starts the heat on him. So Brian makes this other comeback, boom, shuts him down with another body block. He's just constantly, like, every time he gains momentum, he just cuts him off.
It's such a smart structure to the match. It's kind of, you kind of work in a tag match, aren't you? Brian gets a hot tag. Oh, but he's cut off. Brian's comeback, like, he probably does have the best comeback sequence in wrestling history for me.
Cena?
I'm just that you can't see me on audio. I'm moving terribly when I make those noises. Those were the shoulder blocks. But yeah, of course, it's still great now. But here in 2014, pre-concussion, pre-taking the time out, man, he threw himself around.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, the crowd are awesome here. He's doing the yes kicks. And again, he's on this tear. Wyatt shuts him down with a clothesline. And these, like, are laid in clotheslines, so they look wicked. Brian escapes the Sister Abigail and gets in the label lock. Wyatt bites his way out of it, which leads to more dreadful Jerry the King Lawler commentary. Brian does a dive, but Wyatt catches him and hits Sister Abigail into the barricades.
Yeah. Also, I think it's just before that, Brian goes to do his flying headbutt, which he doesn't do anymore, does he?
No.
I forgot he used to do that all the time. But because Wyatt had been working over Brian's head, Brian goes for the flying headbutt, but actually just hits a splash to not use his head. And the commentators just do not get it. I'm like, that is a really good spot for the story of what they've been going through.
Particularly then, Sister Abigail into the barricade.
Oh, yeah.
It's all on the head, rolls him back into the ring, hits another one, and he wins.
Strong win.
Awesome match. And yeah, it is a strong win. Considering that Brian, is being handpicked by this audience, that's the guy that we are favoriting most of the moments. They're like, nope, we need to really build Wyatt hot to go in for the Cena match. And Dave talked about this a lot going into this match. Like, Wyatt needs to win. He's facing Cena at WrestleMania.
It doesn't matter. I think we like the Wyatt family. We like Bray Wyatt. We don't mind if Bray wins here because Danielson is coming in at number 30 at the Royal Rumble and he's going to win the match. I remember that's what I thought. I was like, oh, he's definitely winning the Rumble then.
I never thought.
Did you not?
I never thought Brian was in the Rumble. I've been through Zack Ryder at this point.
So would I.
So I was like, well, no, he's not going to be in the Rumble. He's not part of their plans. And I was like, it's all about Wyatt. It's all about Cena. It's Batista versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. There's no Daniel Bryan in any of that. Batista's been brought back because they're going to do the Evolution match. I never thought Bryan was in the Rumble. Dave Meltzer would say of the match, they brought up that point that Bryan was rumored to have a concussion. Boy, in hindsight, with Punk leaving, they are lucky that Bryan's wasn't worse. 4 stars for the match.
Really good match. Like, this is a cracking match. All action, back and forth, great.
Vinny V of Figure 4 would say that was a hell of a match by the end. A great pay-per-view opener. 3 3/4 stars.
I mean, even by today's standards, by today's Ollie standards, I would give this 4 1/4.
Yeah.
What would you?
I'd
if you had to.
I'd go 4 1/4. Yeah. I don't think I've gone to 4.5. See that Dave gave Okada versus Will Ospreay 5 stars.
Yeah, it could have been 6 if it was in Japan.
Stupid San Jose. And of course, because of
he was there in. I bet apparently it was very good in the arena where he was.
Yeah. And as has been pointed out on several of these WrestleTalk extras that we've done in the past, we have too much focus on the Observer and Figure 4. So we've got 411 Mania's review at the time, Larry Sonka's review of the show. What I like about Larry and reading Larry's reviews is that Larry's writing his reviews while he's watching the show. So a lot of his thoughts are literally just posted to the website as the show is going on. He writes here, so much talk this week about Bryan will or not being in the Rumble tonight and what it could lead into WrestleMania. If he wins here, I think he's doubtful for the Rumble. If he loses, I think this leads to him getting in the Rumble and gives him a real chance of winning. It's amazing what happens when you give guys time to tell their story and do their work. This is a perfect way to get the year in WWE pay-per-view started. 4 stars. So Larry there is writing and this is not like hindsight or anything. This is in context. Oh yeah, he's definitely going to be in the Rumble then. He's just lost here. He's definitely going to be in the Rumble. Backstage, Renee Paquette, who is so wooden.
Oh, I mean, yeah, she's not Renee Paquette today. Of
No.
course, she's Renee 10 years ago. She's Renee Young.
But it's very good. But it is amazing looking. Sorry, I got a real good giggle out of producer Adam. She's just like it's WWE producer. It's WWE like backstage interviewer number 3. Like that was sort of this period of time. But it's just like, and now my guest at this time, Paul Heyman.
But you can see something in her. It's like if you put Borash doing those interviews in WWE, even if he held the mic and said the same stuff, you could see, oh, there's something in you that's better than this. And I think you can see it in Renee at this
being
time.
held back
Yeah.
by my guest at this time, Paul Heyman. And he's there to cut a promo for Brock Lesnar. Obviously, Brock Lesnar has been back a couple of years at this point, but he's still in that part-time thing.
2013, right?
2013 he came back? No, 2012 he came back. Because he has a match at... He is 2013.
I mean, it's easier. Let's keep Daniel Bryan really likes bears on. While you look it up.
Yep.
You know, wrestling Tensai is like wrestling a bear.
Underdog bears.
When did
Can
Brock
we just call that, when we upload this episode to Patreon, can it just be called Bears? Full stop. Underdog Bears.
2013. Brock Lesnar returns 2013.
Yeah, so only just back.
And he just back. I thought 2012 in my head that he came back, but you're right, 2013.
Not a full year.
Yeah.
It was
And
the
he-
Raw after Mania, right?
And he had been kept as this part-time guy. You know, he came in, lost to John Cena. He then had his feud with Triple H, where he also lost. And now he's here, and they're sort of now basically doing the reset of Brock Lesnar. We need to build this guy up because we need to have him. He's going to be going for The Undertaker.
Big Show.
Well, that's why I thought it was 2012 because he has the Triple H thing at Raw 1000, which is in 2012 in 2013. God, man, it must be. I mean, maybe I'm getting my years mixed up, but I thought he came back in 2012.
For his very first return?
Yeah.
Where he fought John?
Yeah.
Yeah, Extreme Rules 2012.
I was 2012. I was
Okay.
right. So he has been back for a couple of years at
Okay,
this point.
cool.
Yeah, because he had the Mania match with Triple H, which Triple H wins, I think. Or does he lose the Mania match and then he beats him at SummerSlam? Because he breaks his arm. He's like, I'm gonna get my revenge on Brock Lesnar, and then he wins because of course he does. So now we're in the rehabbing phase of Brock Lesnar, where we're like, oh no, shit, no, Brock's good. Oh no, he's a dominant UFC guy. We should probably push him as a big like dominant dude.
He's paid his dues now.
He's had his loss to Cena. He's had his loss to Triple H. Now we could put him against the up and comers like the Big Show to prepare him for the Undertaker. And I love how because it's Big Show. And it's Big Show in 2014, but still they're like, it's a big challenge for Brock Lesnar, the Big Show, and he's like, he's gonna challenge Orton or Cena for the title, but first he's got a giant that he needs to get past.
7 foot, 500 pounds. My favorite bit about this was Heyman trying to get over a new. He's obviously workshopping some new nicknames. Brock, the Unmerciful. Didn't catch on, did it?
No. The Attitude Era podcast often referenced the fact that he used to refer to Albert in 2001 as the Moil of Misery.
Not everything Heyman does is 100%.
The Wizards of the Wicked Woods, I think, was one for Team 3D for the Dudley Boys. Again, so, sometimes things don't land. JR's Booger Red for The Undertaker. Well, it just doesn't get over. A football lad is at ringside.
I think his name is Ben Roethlisberger. That's what I've written down.
Quarterback
Quarterback thing in the crowd.
quarter pounder with cheese. Josh Matthews is on the Legends panel.
This is both the worst and best thing on the show.
I hated the Legends panel, but I love the Legends panel.
A bunch of guys not knowing that the world has passed them by.
Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels had to be like, look, guys, I'm with the fans here. I think the CM Punk is great. And I think Daniel Bryan's awesome, and I like the Shield. But you other people, you could be the corporate Shields, Flair and Duggan. You can say the names they want you to say, but I've got my own morals, and my own morals say that I think Daniel Bryan is the future of this company, and this company's stupid for not seeing that.
Well, apparently, Michaels went to bat for Punk at the time. He was always a big supporter of Punk. That's why when he came...
Not always. When
Why
he first came in from Ring of Honor, him and Triple H did try and bury him.
In the years after then,
Yes.
in that first run, and that's why when Punk came back to NXT, that it was like, oh no, actually, they're genuinely there for each other. So I think
Because by that
do
point,
think-
Punk had learned to work the WWE style.
I do think Michaels, and of course, he trained Bryan Danielson to an. He's associated with him. Look at salty
for
Luke over
podcast
here.
listeners, I'm doing big Bucky O'Hare ears for he trained Bryan Danielson.
He was there for
He
at
went to his
least 3 of
school.
those days.
No, I think 3 is a stretch. I think he might have been there for 3 hours across 2 days.
I feel like Michaels was putting over like these are like it was beyond just saying it because the crowd liked it. I think he did say it because of that, but also I think
agree.
he did believe in them.
He's the only one who feels like he's got any integrity on this Legends panel because he's there really putting over Daniel Bryan, like actually using these minutes he has here to put people over. And so it's not just 3 old timers saying names. Like if this is a Jerry Lawler, it's just being like, oh, I think that Bray Wyatt's got a beard. It is actually saying, no, this guy's really good, and here are the things that he does that are really great. That's a future WWE champion right there. I think the future of this company is in safe hands because we've got talent like that guy.
Talent like Bray Wyatt, Bryan Danielson. I was like, none of them are there anymore. This was the big pick for WWE's future 10 years later. Guess Punk's back.
Flair, on the other hand, thinks that Brock Lesnar is going to win this next match, while Jim Duggan, I don't know you guys, that Big Show's pretty big. I've been in the ring with some pretty big guys, and you don't know how they're going to react when you get in there. I think the Giant, I think the Big Show is going to be the guy to win this. Ho!
Hey, Jim, so Rick's going to choose Brock Lesnar. We just need someone to take the opposite side. You okay with doing that?
Yeah. Oh, I can do that, tough guy. I can say whoever you want me to say. Ho!
So, yeah, it's just that they're just screaming at each other. It feels like no one's listening to each other. Ric Flair has gotten so red from when he starts doing his intro to picking Brock Lesnar. And then Shawn is screaming over everyone, saying, everyone's got one. Which I think is him making a joke that they've just chosen one guy and he's chosen like 3.
Yeah.
But he keeps screaming, everyone's got one. Everyone's got one. In Rick and Morty, there's the joke where they're just flicking through like interdimensional TV channels and it's weird out of context stuff. Felt like I was watching that.
Do you know what the weirdest out of context thing here? The final line of this segment, as they're cutting away, Ric Flair puts his arm around Shawn Michaels and says, what time is it?
We're getting that up. We are getting that up.
I can do it easy. I can go to my Google Chrome for this one. I was trying not to use Google Chrome because it's got my bookmark bar.
Maybe my microphone here. All right, scroll down. Royal Rumble.
There, 2023. Everyone's been using it recently to watch the Rumble over the weekend.
Right. Royal Rumble 2014. There it is. And then we can use the... Let's
Find
restart.
that chapter. Oh, noise.
Josh Matthews introduces the Legends panel.
Hey-oh.
Everybody's got one. Thank you very much. This has chicken block. He's picking Big Show. Let's head back to ringside. What time is it?
What do you mean?
What time is
What time is it?
Surely he's like, maybe it's ass-kicking time, or maybe it's Big Show time,
Yeah.
or maybe it's time for you to be wrong, Shawn Michaels. I don't know.
But they picked the same guy.
Yeah, but it does also feel like Ric Flair has somewhere to be.
What time is it? I've got someone I'm meeting later on.
I got a conference call with
Consortium?
best thing on the show.
Yeah. Whoa, up next, it is The Big Show versus Brock Lesnar. And this all kicked off 3 weeks ago on that old school Raw that we were talking about, where Big Show launched Brock Lesnar across the ring. You've never seen Brock Lesnar be manhandled quite so much by the Giants.
I remember not caring about this. The best thing about this is, where's the recap package? I've put it here as 37 minutes, 45 seconds. Is Brock's sort of go home?
Is it when his pronunciation of Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's just saying, "See you on Sunday."
Yep. That's my first time. I'll see you Sunday!
Unhinged Brock. You know when he just makes those noises? Awesome Lesnar.
I'll see. It's Von Wagner's Come Tuesday, but here in 2014. Love it so much. I thought Lesnar sold all of Big Show stuff like real good. Like in the build up to this, like rewatching these segments, Lesnar's doing everything he can to make the Big Show look like a big threat, even though this is Big Show in 2014, which, is not as imposing as Big Show in 2023 in a street fight against, Powerhouse Hobbs. But he was a bit broken down at this point.
Lesnar's a great seller.
Yeah.
Lesnar, weirdly, for a guy his size, is a great small man.
This match, though, features two of the worst bits of commentary on this whole evening. Because the story of this match is that Lesnar gets out of the ring and attacks Big Show. And he attacks him with the chair before the bell rings. And then just beats him up around ringside. Michael Cole says, "This is a great strategy." If that was the case, Michael Cole, why doesn't everyone do it?
Yeah.
If you can just attack everyone with a chair before the bell, why doesn't everyone do it?
It's
if
so
it's
annoying.
such a good strategy, Michael Cole, everyone would be doing it. And then King says he doesn't want to have a match with the Big Show. And JBL responds to that, he's in a match with the Big Show.
It's people who have done no prep. I really like the physicality. It's Lesnar, even a couple of years into this second run of his, he did feel different. He comes out in the Jimmy John sponsored shorts. Sorry, CM Punk. One of the first things he does is he gets in an MMA mount on Big Show. He's properly raining down punches on him. It looks great. But it is a frustrating thing with, well, if you're going to go for that level of realism, the referee wouldn't then start the match after all of this. Or at least just say, okay, it started, ding, ding, ding. Like, why do you have to have them both stand at either side?
Well, because it's real, isn't it? Big Show's got to stand up. I will say, I think it's quite rad, actually, because he's beating him up around ringside with his chair. They eventually get back into the ring, and the ref rings for the bell, and immediately Big Show hits the KO punch, and Lesnar's selling of it is so great that it genuinely does give some heat to the match, bearing in mind that Big Show's just been pounded by this chair for so long. And then Lesnar ducks another one and hits him with an F5 and he wins.
Yeah, that Lesnar's selling there, you're right. He's like out on his feet because he knows what it's like to be legitimately knocked out and still try to keep going, I suppose.
I said a CM Punk later on.
But Lesnar...
Didn't help him in UFC.
Lesnar actually works. You know how people say, oh, he's such a good wrestler, he can wrestle against a wooden broom.
Yeah.
Big Show's on the floor for most of this, and Lesnar is wrestling around a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
And it is pretty compelling action.
It's not bad.
Also, just before the referee called for the bell, Brock has beaten the Big Show so much with the chair, the ref stops him, takes away the chair, so Heyman picks up another chair. It was really funny.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer would say, the idea is you do a few shots and get a reaction. Then the crowd goes numb, and then when you keep doing it, the crowd is shocked and it brings them back stronger. But in their case, they didn't come back stronger. The story was of no real match and total destruction of the company's biggest monster was needed to get Lesnar ready for Undertaker. In addition, Show went home to sell the pounding, missing TV the next 2 nights. We missed Raw and he missed SmackDown. The idea being like he's selling this so hard he couldn't even make it to TV.
SmackDown was pre-taped, of course.
They needed to have the announcers push this so that Show had to go to hospital after the match and was injured. What's the point of him missing the show to sell an angle without it being played up huge? What was the angle in the first place? $1.25.
Yeah, it is an angle, isn't it? Afterwards, they continue beating up Big Show for a long, long time. And then, yeah, he breaks the chair. Heyman lobs him another one, like Steve Austin with beers, I've written. But then Cole annoyingly says that's got to be like the third chair. It's the fourth chair.
That's like the third chair.
Overall. Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Vinny V would say, "What a sad day for Big Show this turned out to be. He took a savage beating, and it was mostly just boring. This went on and on and on. Brock threw a referee down. Then they showed 1,000 replays. This show has ground to an absolute halt. We're only 2 matches in. Then Show laid around for a while. Then he limped up the aisle. God Almighty, this took forever. The following rating reflects the finish only, which is too great to ignore, even if everything else sucked. 2 stars."
Can I see if I've got the chair throw? I think so. That's is that the one? Yeah. So the chair's broken. Hey! A second chair, and then if you keep that on the screen, Paul Heyman gets the best pose on. Look at that. So for audio listeners, Heyman is standing on the steel steps, hand on one knee.
He's got one leg on the second step and his other leg cocked up to the top step with his hand on his knee.
And then afterwards, after all of this destruction, they have a really slow zoom on... Oh, no, it's after this. A really slow zoom on the bit of chair. So Big Show's walking off, always said, "Oh, no."
And the commentators are doing their solemn voices of well, of just like, "Oh man, I've never seen the Big Show dominated in such a fashion."
Look who's helping him out there. It's Dr. Chris Amann. Don't worry, buddy. I got a Z-Pack for you backstage.
Oh, he'll come up later, I guess. 411, Larry would say, "I feared it would go on too long and we booked too evenly. Lesnar beat him down, shook off his finish, and followed up, attack, and destroyed the Giant. It went on a bit too long in the end as they lost the heat, but overall the segment made Lesnar look like a killer going into WrestleMania and was what it should have been. The match was under 3 minutes, and so you could call it 1 star for wrestling, but it's 4 stars for the beatdown."
Oh, yeah, I think, that's a good review, I think, of Larry's.
Backstage, The Shield cut a promo about being the most dominant force in wrestling. However, when I was watching this, I was like, you look like Jon Moxley. You sound like Jon Moxley. But you're not Jon Moxley.
I don't know what's different between this promo and the October 28th promo from the Raw that we also talked about earlier. Because there he feels, and the Piper's Pit, there he feels like cool Jon Mox, like I will become Jon Moxley later. This promo feels overly scripted.
That's exactly it. It's because he's getting in the buzzwords.
Yeah.
We're going to go out there for the WWE Universe. 29 other superstars. It's using those sort of buzzwords that make it like, you're not Jon Moxley. It feels like someone pretending to be Jon Moxley.
Is that the Shield are an invading force. That's why they film their promos differently. That's why they come in through the crowd. Yet here they are like any other wrestling act.
Yeah, like this promo is no different to the one where they're just standing in front of the camera later on being like, "I'm the Miz and I'm going to win the Royal Rumble."
So bad. But Seth says they'll finish standing united.
He's the united guy in this because you've got Dean and Roman arguing over each other. You know, it's because of Roman spearing Dean that they lost the 3-on-1 to Punk. That's where like kind of a lot of this dissension is running. And Seth's the one to be like, "No, we're the group that stays together," which actually kind of makes his betrayal feel all the more impactful, I guess.
So it depends how long they were. Obviously, they were plotting this for months before even this promo. I got a different reading with that in mind of Seth's performance here. I think you could look at his performance and what he says, and he's saying everything right. We're going to dominate the Rumble. We're going to work together as a team, and we're going to stand united. But what I feel he might be saying behind his eyes is, Ambrose and Reigns are butting heads a lot at the moment. I should probably make the first move to get out of this.
I think you could write that in. But like his actions later on in the Rumble, he gets annoyed at Dean for trying to eliminate Roman because like you're going against the plan. We laid out a plan and you're trying to screw that plan up.
Well, I think this might be the start, and in the Rumble of him starting to think, okay, if they're going to be like this, I'm the architect.
And but the effect is just press pause on that, and we'll have a little babyface
run. Yeah.
and then we can unpause that and get back onto it.
Speaking of lame verbiage, do you want to hear Roman's promo from this bit?
Go. Please go.
So, Dean felt a bit weird in this. And Seth is the same as he has been, because he was not the best promo, I would say. Then he gets to Roman, and he says, "That's what I'm talking about. Well, I gotta tell you, boys, I know you can notice my energy. My swagger's off the charts right now. I'm feeling confident, boys, that I got the winning number tonight." It is uncool. It is very lame.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't feel cool here.
Yeah.
Which is counter to what the Shield should be, because the Shield do feel cool most of the time.
And then Dean and Roman go back and forth. What number have you got? And then it feels like, oh no, this is wacky, Dean. He's like, I can tell you my number. I'm not going to tell you my number.
I'll show you yours if you show me mine, doing that comedy that the APA used to do.
And then Seth says, hey, stop arguing. The only number that matters tonight is 3, because there's 3 of them.
Yeah. But really it's 1, because only one of them could win. Backstage, Renee interviews Randy Orton to good heat for Randy Orton, though I think a lot of that is, it's not you're a heel heat, it's more boo, you're defending the title heat. And he cuts a promo on Cena saying he's going to beat Cena, and then Cena's going to have to go to the back of the line. And then Renee's like, well, Brock wants a shot at you, Bray Wyatt wants a shot at you, you got the winner of the Royal Rumble. And Randy says he calls Bray Wyatt a Duck Dynasty reject.
It's a good line.
Really puts you to where we are in TV as well in 2014. I don't think people are making Duck Dynasty references on TV in 2024.
Yeah.
2 Chainz and Wiz Khalifa, which is a song from the Fast and Furious 6, is the soundtrack.
What a movie. It's a great movie.
Is this one of your faves?
I think Fast and Furious 6 might be my favorite Fast and Furious movie, even though 5 is the better movie. Why are you looking at me, Whitney?
I watched them all for the first time last year.
Uh-huh.
And they all blur into one because I watched them so quickly.
Yeah.
My Letterboxd review, my most watched actor that year was Vin Diesel. I've never been more upset.
But that's the end. That's where I feel like Fast and Furious 6 is the most like a wrestling movie for me, because that's the first time they did the post-credits, but it wasn't boring Marvel post-credits where I've got to watch all the credits. It was like, film ends, Fast and Furious title, here's a few stars. Pfft. And it was like a mid-credits.
The mid-credits.
Which I don't think I'd seen before. And it was, I can't remember the Japanese character's name from Tokyo Drift, but he gets taken out in Japan, and you're like, oh my God, who's in the car? And out steps Jason Statham. And we were cheering in the audience. I went to see it alone, and I made friends with the guy next to me who was with his girlfriend, because we were so excited that Statham just turned up. And it felt like the signing from like another wrestling promotion.
It's like Bobby Roode being shown in the audience.
So yeah, Fast and Furious 6, what a movie.
Coming up next, for the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, that is, not the unified belt, or whatever they wanted to call it. It's John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Versus the audience.
Yes, this is all that. It's the big rematch. It's the most anticipated rematch of all time. And I was like, uh-oh. It's like, I don't know if they really know what's coming up for them now.
Not only is it the biggest rematch of all time, it's a traditional match.
Yeah.
Why do they keep putting over that this is a big deal?
Because this is how you're going to see their wrestling prowess. There's no gimmicks involved.
John Cena's wrestling prowess.
He's full of it, so I'm told.
Well, he does bust out several of his moves in this match. You know, the moves he does when he's like, but I'll show them, and they look worse than his normal moveset.
He's got a terrible tornado DDT.
Oh, who got hurt in that?
We were talking about Cena in the office last week. Talking about the way he's got a really weird way of cutting promos, a weird cadence to some of his voice, to the way that he says things. And his name is Daniel Bryan. He's got this odd way of saying things. But also the way he moves is weird. And Tempest was like, yeah, he doesn't move like a human. And I'm like, yeah, he moves like a robot pretending to be a human.
Or a game that hasn't quite had the physics worked out yet. So It is weird. I personally don't hear the weird promo cadence. To me, that's just your stat. He's doing an impression of military promo sort of thing. That's what I hear in that voice. But yeah, he moves aesthetically disgusting.
It is historically terrible punches.
But yeah, just remember the rules of a traditional championship match: pinfall or submission.
Yeah,
That's what they keep getting over.
They were really highlighting the idea that there's going to be no interference in this match, like the Continental Classic. There's going to be no interference in this match. There will be a clean, decisive winner. I guess that's to try and the idea would be to put heat on the Wyatts because they sullied this traditional match by coming out at the end.
And also, the last time they fought, when Orton...
It was last week.
Yeah, Orton beat
We
Cena.
literally just saw this match.
Well, that's right. It's a hashtag rematch. It was a tables, ladders, chairs match.
Yeah.
So it's that booking things out of order. Here's the big stip match because the pay-per-view's called the name of the stip, so I guess you'll just wrestle with a ladder match and some chairs and some tables. And now it builds to the normal match.
It strikes me that they never did WWE singles match, the pay-per-view. You know, the gimmick is every match is a traditional singles match.
So Orton won the belt from Cena, and then Randy is out there.
Unified the belts.
Yeah.
He was already WWE champion, and John Cena was the World Heavyweight champion. And then they merged the belts together and unified them at TLC.
And Orton's with Trips. He's with Steph.
Yeah, because they formed the Authority
Corporate
in mid-2013. It was after SummerSlam.
Yeah, when
Available in the
Orton screwed
archives.
over Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
At the end of that.
And Triple H did as well.
Yes.
And, you know, Orton took out his frustrations on Kofi, but Kofi won that match. So why isn't he getting the world title match instead? But then Orton took things too far. And he attacked Cena's dad.
So this was in the video recap package. Have we still got
We have, yes.
the WWE Network open?
Yeah, I can get it for you.
Because if you could go to... If we could just watch Orton's meltdown before he attacks, I think it's like 59 minutes.
Okay. Cutting to John Cena versus Randy Orton world title.
But we want the video package. So yeah, just before Orton attacks that, yeah. So.
I mean, hang on a second. You just pause it because I need to get the audio up.
Oh. So just let me go back a bit. Because the story was Kofi beats Randy Orton. And then what we get is some editing, Adam Whitney style, of Orton having a breakdown. Look at this editing. No, no. What is the survival? What's next? Have I said John Cena? Oh, no. Ah, grr. Oh, but... And then, this is hilarious. Because Kofi getting a win isn't the story point. It's just Orton beating up Cena's dad.
He knocked Cena's dad down.
Look at his bum. Look at Cena's dad's beat up bum.
King of the bums. Like Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, just that spot was so over the top it made me chuckle.
Yeah. It is like they've done Cena's dad a few times. I think during the Edge feud in like 2006, they went to Cena's dad's house and went to his like childhood bedroom to make fun of the fact that he never had sex there. Yeah, like Cena's dad is about as bad of an actor as John Cena is at times, which is remarkable as well because Cena's a really good actor.
Eventually.
Yeah, I think like the work he does now in movies and stuff is dead good. So do you think it's you know how like Natalie Portman's really bad in the Star Wars prequels, but she's a very good actor. Ewan McGregor's another one.
He needs good directors
That's what
to get performances out of him.
So it's not that Cena was a bad promo or Cena was a bad actor. He was given bad direction.
You might be onto something there. I never thought about it because he's a great, spontaneous, off-the-cuff improviser.
Yeah, very good at comedy in particular.
Yeah. And like, you know, probably serious stuff as well. If you have him cut a wrestling promo off the bat, I bet he could like move you. But yeah, some people, Colin Farrell. If Colin Farrell doesn't have a good director directing him, oh, he's bland.
It's Daredevil.
But then, if he has a good director, you sort of who directed Batman?
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. With the Greek guy I can't say the name of in The Lobster. Fantastic all-time performances. Yeah, that's a good point.
So here we are. Orton coming out here first, because you've got to wait for the Cena pop. That doesn't come.
Something comes.
He's 10 years in at this point, because he won his first title in 2004. He is a 12-time champion at this point.
Means an 11-time loser.
In 10 years, is a 12-time champion. That is a ludicrous statistic that massively devalues these world titles.
Yeah, there was so much wrong with WWE at the time.
Yeah.
Then this is just one of them.
You want to talk about things that are wrong with WWE at this point? The boos are so loud for Orton, and then Cena comes out, and they're even louder. And JBL says, "The crowd are on their feet for John Cena."
Well,
and I'm like, well, this is why adults hate this company.
To be fair to them, they do say, "Oh, I do hear some booing, some cheering."
No, but that's it. No, you don't. You're not hearing any cheering, John.
And then they say, "Oh, I don't know which way the crowd is going to go."
Yeah, I don't. Oh, could I possibly take a guess at what it is? And that's when people say it's your unique experience. You remember it wrong. It wasn't like that. Adults hated this company because this is how they talked to us. They kept telling us, they were trying to gaslight us into thinking that it was a bipartisan crowd, it's a split crowd. And it never was. It was always one way.
And I think objectively it was a bad product. It's too long, feuds didn't make sense, characters weren't properly developed. So they're in the ring, they're doing the ring intros because they're playing this up like, to them, I think, like you said earlier, this is bigger than the Rumble itself. This is the main event of this pay-per-view.
This is why people are buying this show.
So they're doing the ring intros, making it feel like a big deal, and they boo Orton. No, sorry, they boo Cena first. Like really loud boos in the ring intro. And I thought, oh, will they boo Orton? Or will they cheer Orton because he's the guy against Cena? They boo Orton just as much.
Yeah.
And it really is an indictment of, we hate everything you're putting in front of us right now. We're ready for change.
Yeah, we're ready for that change that CM Punk promised us in this 2011 promo that still has not arrived yet. And the chants for Daniel Bryan start, it's not like, about halfway through the match, the crowd decide, actually, we want Daniel Bryan in this. No, it's like, ding, 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 Daniel Bryan. And they're chanting for Bryan. Then you get into the traditional, let's go Cena, Cena sucks chants.
I really enjoyed the, because Daniel Bryan, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. They're wrestling things, you could say they're playing up for things that are in kayfabe. But in between those was boring.
Yeah.
Boring.
Well,
like a minute in.
So here's how we start. We start with chants for Daniel Bryan. Then they go into the usual dueling, let's go Cena, Cena sucks chants. Cena sucks being way louder than anything else. And then immediately you can almost feel that the portion that are doing the Cena sucks thing are like, no, we're playing into this. No, Daniel Bryan. So they go back into the Bryan things. They're like, no, we're not playing your game. Because Cena often said in interviews that, like, or people have noted in interviews as well, it's never, let's go Rocky, Cena sucks. Let's go Wyatt, Cena sucks. It's let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Let's go. And so both chants are about Cena. So even no matter who he's against, he's the most over person there. So it feels like the crowd are like, no, I don't want anyone to think we're playing a game. Daniel Bryan is who we want. And they get into yes chants. Orton, to his credit, I think there are two moments where I'll give credit to both guys in this. Orton, to his credit, is immediately like, oh, headlock then.
Yeah.
So he's just like, they're chanting for Daniel Bryan. It's like, oh, I'll get the chant boring. Headlock. And he gets into a rest hold, locks in that headlock, gets on the floor, and is like, I can be here for a good 5. Type 5 down here. Boring. Just locks it in even more. Oh, boring, is it? Oh. Because Honky Tonk Man, I remember him in the shoot interview saying, like, I'd rather the crowd chant boring at me than chant nothing. If they chant boring at me, guess what? I'm going to do even less.
Yeah. Which is a terrible attitude to have, I would say.
Because they're telling you up front what you're doing is boring. So don't just be more boring.
If you continue doing this, I will stop coming. I'm a loyal fan. I will stop coming to your shows. But I think it's a really good point you made about that. This is a crowd that aren't that we're like, we're done playing into this. idea that Cena sucks is us having fun. We don't like Cena. So yeah, they just Randy Savage chant, Y2J, Undertaker, boring. It's like it is.
We want divas.
We're not engaging with this again because what we've done before hasn't worked.
The other bit of credit I want to give actually is to Cena.
You both suck. That was a good chant.
This is awful. It's to Cena in this because when the Y2J chants start, Cena tries to lock in the walls of Jericho, which I think is actually a genuinely good spot. That's a great spot in response to what the crowd are doing, because the theory would be, well, I've now done the thing of the guy you're chanting about. You can cheer me now. Guys, I'm on your side here. But, Orton escapes that. It doesn't work. They still continue to boo him. Boring chants ring out. Cena makes a comeback with dreadful offense. And the crowd chant for Daniel Bryan some more. Orton mounts off of them, and then the JBL's like, I think the crowd can do whatever they want. They paid their money. They can have a good time. And Cena does his shtick and gets booed for it. He hits the leg drop of complete doom. And Orton hits...
On that, so that's the top rope flying leg drop.
I hate that move.
I tried to find it, but I cannot find it anywhere. I remember one of the first times he did it, someone shared a meme image of it around and just put a toilet underneath him. And it just looks like he's sitting on the toilet.
Again, it's because he doesn't move like a human.
No.
In that sense, he does move like he's an action figure. His articulation just goes
That's
up.
it, yeah.
But he doesn't have articulation in the knees. So it's just at the waist his articulation goes.
Yeah, he is an action figure in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Limited mobility points.
But even G.I. Joe had, multiple points. The crowd... I think, though, this is the thing that people don't talk about this match. There gets a point where the chants stop. And what you get then is not even booing. It's not boring. It's not cheering. It's nothing. And I actually think those are the worst parts of the match in terms of that's the crowd letting you know what they think of this. Because at the start, it's like, we want to tell you what we hate about this match. And then after a while, I was like, I'm not even bothered about that anymore. I just want this to be over, and I'm not going to do anything.
They're turning to their friend Mark and saying, just having a chat.
Yeah.
Well, do you think Brian will come out for number 30? Oh, he better come out, otherwise this show sucks.
Or they're turning to each other to be like, what else can we do? What else have we done? Who haven't we done yet? AJ Lee.
So with the Cena comeback that the crowd are booing so hard, Orton does start to get some cheers because he's reversing Cena moves.
Yeah. And
that's the only sort of bit where the crowd got into the story of the match.
I would agree with that.
Albeit against the grain of the match.
Because there's a moment when he does the draping DDT to the floor and it gets no reaction. And that should just be, even just a move being hit should at least get a, oh! Doesn't get that at all. STF by Cena, which gets after reversing the RKO. They do come alive again, the crowd, for boos when Cena starts doing his routine. And then we get a ref bump.
Ref bump!
And there's a moment the crowd just go like, that is the noise you hear.
Yeah, it's such like a tired ref bump as well, because it's, brings someone up for the attitude adjustment. Oh no, the leg hits the ref. I've seen this a gazillion times.
Yeah. STF, Orton taps out. Cena stops doing it immediately because he's like, Orton taps out, and Cena, because he's a bad actor, he jumps up being like, yeah, I won. It's like, you just know the ref got bumped.
Yeah.
You literally just saw that happen, John.
You kind of did it. You used Orton as a weapon on the ref. Referee took a hell of a back bump as well. Was it
Charles Robinson?
Yeah, it was Charles Robinson, Little
Nate.
And he took the boot to the face, full on flying Scott Hall stunner cell.
I was chatting to someone recently, and they were talking about referees. And Mike Yoda was sharing this recently. And it's something I've never thought about before. But he's been asked before, like, hey, do you take normal bumps as a referee? Would you like to learn how to take bumps? And he's like, no, we shouldn't bump like the wrestlers because they're trained athletes.
Yeah.
We're not trained athletes. We need to bump differently.
We need to hurt ourselves.
Yeah, and so I now look at people like Little Nate taking bumps, and I'm like, that's why they fall so oddly. It's supposed to stand out differently from how the wrestlers fall. Orton clocks Cena with the title, and he wakes up the referee for a kick out. The crowd boos. Orton kicks out the AA. The crowd boos. We get an RKO, and Cena kicks out. The crowd boos. Then they chant, We want divas.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lawler says, I'll tell you what this is. This is the crowd getting into Randy Orton's head. That's what they're trying to do. They're all collectively trying to get into Randy Orton's head to put him off winning this match. That's how they're going to rally behind Cena.
He's trying his best. It's the only take you could have, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here. It's even when this is like the big booking meeting backstage. Oh, don't worry. Yeah, they might do this. But as soon as that ref goes down and you kick out and then you hit your finisher, kick out, you hit your finisher, kick out, then you do each other's finishers. It's like this is the template of Michael Hayes backstage going, this is a great match.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. What you're going to win them over with this layout.
When Steve Austin would hit the rock bottom on the rock, the crowd would explode.
And the crowd do not buy into any of it.
And the only time they
play every single hit that they can, every little
Yeah.
psychological trick to get cheers.
I think the only one they sort of go for is Randy Orton doing the STF. But even then, it's just like, oh, that's cool, but I still hate this, so boo.
Yeah, they just chant yes.
Yeah.
And that was more for Cena to tap out and end the match.
That's right, yeah. They do start chanting end this match around this point. Cena transitions into the crossface. Orton hits an AA and Cena kicks out. The crowd boo. Like, I think they... we'll get to that match, and then I'll pass my thought on there. Cena hits the RKO, and Orton kicks out. The crowd boo. Cena goes for the Super AA, but Orton escapes, and Cena hits that tornado DDT. STF again, and then Wyatt's blow happens, and they're surrounding the ring. RKO, Orton wins.
The crowd are hugely into the Wyatt family.
They do chant thank you,
Yeah.
Wyatt. JBL says, you may have to give an assist there to Wyatt. And King says, you think? Which I did like. So here's my question to you. Does this match work in front of a different crowd? Is 2014 and the Yes Movement what it is without this crowd?
Sorry, what's your question now?
If
Did this match fuel Daniel Bryan, or does this match work? If
No,
you
I
put
think
it
it's the
today?
crowd, because the talking point after the show is the crowd. It's the crowd's reaction to the show. Much in the same way Tacoma, Washington crowd killed WCW. Do you think that you could argue this Pittsburgh crowd was a fueling fire for the Yes Movement and one of the reasons we get to WrestleMania 30?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because they're chanting yes for the entire show. And then it's that number 30 cherry on top, isn't it? Or rather, steaming turd on top, where they really take against everything. I'd say, yeah, that crowd and the Raw After Mania crowd when Bryan got beat by Sheamus in
so the year
however many
previous.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think this is... Would this match have been the same in front of a crowd that was less hateful towards it?
Or indifferent.
Or indifferent, yeah. Like, would they just stayed the course? And, you wouldn't have been... Ray wouldn't have been booed at number 30. I mean, they probably still would have done Bryan and Hunter because Punk went and Triple H needed a new program, so he went with a guy that the crowd like. So probably still would have gone for it, but I wonder if, like, this... Because as I said, like, that's the story of the show, is this crowd, as opposed to what actually happens on it.
I think, though, because when I misunderstood your question, if you do this exact match now with Cena and Orton, I think people will be raving about it.
100% they would. Yeah. They'd love it.
Yeah.
Randy hitting the AA, Cena hitting the RKO, they'd go mad for it. At this time, though, Dave would say of the match, the crowd pretty well killed this one. At first, when they were doing the dueling chants of Let's Go Cena, the Let's Go Cena chants were louder. But as the match went on, the crowd were really booing Cena bad. The story of the match was the chants. The minute Orton went to the mat for a hold, they chanted boring. Orton tried to transfer the hostility to him as much as he could, yelling at fans, chanting for Daniel Bryan that they should be chanting his name. Cena's comeback was booed. Orton hit Cena with a belt shot, but Cena kicked out. That didn't get the reaction it should. Instead, they got a "This is awful" chant. Orton was not happy at this point. He hit an attitude adjustment for a near fall, more chance. Cena hit the RKO for a near fall. Cena did a messy swinging DDT off the ropes, but the ST off and again.
Swinging DDT. A messy swinging DDT.
Orton almost made the ropes, but Cena pulled him into the center. Just as Orton looked like he had no chance to get out, the lights went out and the Wyatts were in the ring. Orton was selling like he was dead. Cena went for the Wyatts. Orton sprung up and hit an RKO for the pin. 3.25 stars.
That's high.
Figure 4, Vinny V would say, these entrances took forever and there was nothing to them other than the same music and light show we get on Raw every week. There had to be at least 20 minutes between the end of the last match and the start of this one. I want to nap so badly. Crowd, also bored, chanted for Daniel Bryan. Yep, that quickly got drowned out by dueling chants for and against Cena. No, wait, the Daniel Bryan chants are back. JLBL pointed out that Daniel Bryan had been in the first match and lost. Then Lawler said that this was the fans' way of telling Orton and Cena that they had to follow that. Meanwhile, the crowd chanted, "We want Daniel." They then chanted for Randy Savage. Randy Orton, WWE Champion, was getting overshadowed by a man who's been dead for years. Next, they wanted Y2J. Then The Undertaker. None of these men came out, so the crowd chanted boring. JBL started talking about how great the physiques of the guys are in the ring. That would be Vince McMahon telling him to say that because in 2014, Vince McMahon still believes that muscles are the driving force of this business. Fans chanted, "You both suck." I haven't seen fans turn on a major match like this since Lesnar Goldberg at Mania.
Yeah, that's probably the only other modern comparison, isn't it?
So, a rating. Crowd hated it, that's for sure, but by the end, people were cheering for the near falls in spite of themselves. I don't agree with that.
Oh.
And I can't tell you how happy I am to give Cena this mass rejection. Anyway, take this rating with a grain of salt and give or take a star as you desire. 2.5 stars.
I'd say more in the 2.5 star range.
I think so.
Because the template of the match is good. Orton's good. Cena's what he is.
Larry would say the amount of apathy in the arena during this match was not a good sign if you're WWE. The momentum from earlier in the show is essentially gone at 20 past 9. Disagree with the tag title change in the pre-show all you want, but the Outlaws were over and the crowd reacted. The opener was damn good and the crowd reacted. The Lesnar show stuff eventually went too long, but the crowd did react. Right now, this crowd is rebelling, entertaining themselves, and the work in ring isn't helping things. The match went 20 minutes and felt longer, which is not a good sign. Forget about the crowd's reaction for a minute. The match just wasn't that good, even with the WrestleMania-style kickouts and finisher stealing. In a way, it wasn't a bad match work-wise at times, but felt slow, didn't capture my attention, and wasn't the level you'd expect out of a WWE title match. 2 stars.
So after the match, the Wyatt family continued to beat down Cena. That's good.
Yeah.
The crowd is sort of, oh yeah, they're the next big thing. We don't like Orton and Cena anymore. We're done with them. But Wyatt, Shield, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. So they're chanting, "Thank you, Wyatt." And Brody hits a discus clothesline. Nice to see.
Yep.
And then Bray just says, "Behold the creators of the new world," as he hits a Sister Abigail on John.
Jerry Lawler's like, what does that mean?
Oh my god, that's so annoying. I'm just gonna finish. It could imagine if Bray then went on to beat John at WrestleMania,
Which he should have done.
But yeah, after that, Lawler sets up a replay, and it's a tiny thing, but it drove me mad. Jerry Lawler says, "Well, let's figure out what happened here." I don't think we need a replay. It was very slowly done. It was very glaringly obvious. The Wyatts distracted Cena.
Yeah. Well, but why?
But this is...
We need to figure out what happened here.
This is just like the commentary at the time where they were idiots. Mm-hmm. They were dumb. They didn't see things that were right in front of them. They had to pretend that they only saw the monitor on the desk.
The worst of that is Kevin Nash's return at SummerSlam, when the crowd are going ballistic as Kevin Nash is walking through the crowd, and the commentators aren't acknowledging anything that's happening until he's in the ring and the camera sees him.
But it gets worse because Cena, you said he was a bit of a wooden actor. Mm. Let's check him out. Selling heartbreak at the end of this match. Where is he? God, this match is long.
Told you the match was long.
How long is it?
It's about 20 minutes.
Okay, so we don't need audio for this. Let's just mute that. Is that mute?
So
Look at it.
There.
Look at sad Cena. What's happened? I've just taken a Sister Abigail. Am I bored?
What's that?
Eyebrows.
What's the...
I smiled there.
Crowd, I've got to play to the crowd. Guys,
who are
am I
people?
okay? I don't know.
Am I going to the ring?
Never give up, I guess.
It's Chris and Matt. Don't worry. Got a Z-Pack for you.
Are you there, Chris? Are you okay? Did they attack you?
Huh? I need you with
Rubbish, right?
I need you to edit a thinking package together for that Cena moment. Like, think how good Brock Lesnar's selling was in the previous match when he got knocked out and he had to wrestle the rest of the match kind of on his feet against Big Show. And when he wins, he's on the ropes, he's blinking, he's doing this with his hands, opening and closing them.
Just make sure
Yeah.
that's concussion signs.
I'm like, oh my, that's what Cena should be doing. But he just, no, that's way too much movement.
But that's what punches.
Yeah. Ugh. I know we like him now. But God, he was bad.
We got a lovely video package for Mae Young, who had passed away just a few weeks earlier.
Was it lovely?
I mean, it's lots of stuff from 2000, which is a great period of time.
Again, Mae Young, great. Love all her comedy stuff from the Attitude Era and from cameo spots after then.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that's what they show. They show when she was most active in 1999 and 2000, and then the rest of it's just backstage appearances at WrestleManias.
I've got nothing against that.
Yeah.
What I've got against is
Stephanie
McMahon, who's an on-screen heel.
Well, this is the thing. When you're doing a tribute package like this, you're not being like that.
No.
What you're thinking of. You're thinking of Stephanie McMahon, the character. This is Stephanie McMahon, the businesswoman, who's one of like the COOs of the company or whatever. You can't get the two mixed up. It's like Mr. McMahon and Vince McMahon. They're different people.
You would never, ever get Mr. McMahon on an episode of Raw being Mr. McMahon to Stone Cold Steve Austin and overturning the result of a match. Next segment, talking about Black History Month and how much Martin Luther King means to him.
You might do, because they're different people.
No, but you never did. You never did. And there's a reason for that, is because it's stupid and it undermines what you're doing. Everything that happens on your TV product, everything you show, should be in character, unless there is a very, very good reason for it. There are so many other people who could have done this.
Name one.
Natalia. Who was the women's champion
You
at the
wouldn't
time?
have known it was her.
Just have a generic voiceover.
Who was the women's champion at the time? Do you have a guess, Adam? What year? It's, January 2013.
2014.
2014. List of...
Oh, the Survival Series tables have been turned.
I'll take a guess from you as well. It's still the Divas Championship at this point.
Probably AJ Lee.
Okay, so we've got AJ Lee. Any advances on AJ Lee?
She's married to Punk. Come on.
Layla, is she still about then?
It was AJ Lee. She'd won the belt in June of 2013 and would lose it in April to a debuting Paige.
And then
After Mania.
back and
Then they back and forth it, yeah.
Yeah, so
AJ Lee could have done this.
I'm very, very annoyed with Stephanie McMahon. Yeah.
There's a kind of a crushing line at the end there during her Hall of Fame speech, which is like, being here makes me want to make it to my 100th birthday.
Yeah.
That's crushing. And then we cut to the New Age Outlaws. Renee is interviewing the New Age Outlaws, and they talk about how last time they were tag champions was 14 years ago. And now they're tag champions again, and they're going to a party, and you're not invited.
Yeah, so they're already starting maybe a bit of a heel turn.
Well, they turned heel the week...
Oh, they'd already turned.
Yeah, they turned heel 2 weeks ago when they walked out on Punk during the Shield match.
They said it was 14 years between title reigns, which is a record, apparently.
Apparently so, yeah.
Don't care enough to check it. So they when they said that they'd won, because they beat whoever, and I was like, oh, they beat Cody, because they were showing clips. I was like, oh, who was Cody with? Was it Damian Sandow? Was it, surely who else did he?
Drew
beat?
McIntyre.
Yeah. Which version of Cody? And it was Goldust.
Yeah, it was the
Of
Rose
course it
Brothers,
was.
because they had the match at Battleground and stuff, and they won the belts from the Shield.
But it wasn't Stardust and Goldust.
No.
It was Cody Rhodes and Goldust.
At this point in his write-up, Larry of 411 said, hopefully the Rumble can recapture the momentum this show had earlier in the night.
Well, the Bryan match was good.
But that's my point. It's like, just imagine, and you can kind of, with that line, put yourself right in the mindset of a fan watching this show. It's okay, everyone. The Rumble's coming up next. Sure, the Big Show and Brock thing went on too long. Sure, Orton and Cena was really boring and too long. But it's okay. The Royal Rumble's coming up next. Nothing can possibly go wrong, right?
It's so easy. Daniel Bryan, Number 30. Wait, what? We didn't even think number 30 at the time. We just think he's coming out.
He's in the Rumble.
The reason everyone boos Ray at number 30 is because that was the last opportunity for him to come out.
Though, if people had been doing their math, they'd have known it was Rey Mysterio, because Ray cuts a promo here. They have a lineup of people doing promos, and it's just them looking down the barrel of the lens with this red background. It's very 1980s. The Miz, the lame version of the Usos.
Oh, they're so bad. And they even go like, only one of us can main event WrestleMania. Pause. Like, oh, they're going to have a bit of tension. And then Jimmy goes, and we're cool with that. Oh, Jesus.
Biggie Langston, Fandango, Damien Sandow, Ryback, Batista, and Rey Mysterio all cut promos. So Ray has cut his promo saying, I am in the Royal Rumble match. I won it in 2006. I'm going to do it again. So if the crowd... I don't know if they play this in front of the audience.
Maybe not.
And the only reason I don't think they did is because Batista doesn't get booed. But like, no one gets a reaction, which is understandable for the rest of them. But Batista doesn't get booed.
Batista's line was cool because everyone else had a little spiel, and it just cuts to Batista. He smirks and he goes, exactly.
Yeah.
It was cool.
He looks down at his boobs and he's like, exactly.
Look at my nips. This was a creatively phoned-in series of promos.
No.
Think of all the great Rumble promos on the night that we've had to build the match or introduce it. This was so lame.
At least it wasn't by the numbers. It was actually just by the numbers. We cut back to the Legends panel.
Yeah!
I got my pick to win. And my pick is one of the guys. I wasn't the guy that anyone expected to win, tough guy. I think it's going to be Dolph Ziggler. Idiot. He's terrible at picking things, Doug. And he thought the Big Show was going to win. He thinks Dolph Ziggler's going to win the Rumble. What an idiot.
Sean says the Shield or CM Punk.
Picking 4 guys.
Everyone gets one.
You can't pick 4 guys, Sean.
And Flair, of course, goes for Batista.
Who does get booed.
And then he just starts yelling Batista.
Well, I think it's because
The crowd are booing him a lot.
they're surprised. He's like, my pick is going to be Batista. And the crowd boos. And he's like, what? No, I said Batista. And we like him, right? No, it's okay. I said Batista.
Oh, wait. Should we just watch the Usos promo? Because I just saw it. Oh, no, I've not put on the... Goddamn touchscreen.
Headlining WrestleMania. We might be going into the Royal Rumble match as brothers, but only one of us can walk out a winner and go on the main event WrestleMania. And we're cool with that.
Get a life.
And then they would go on to main event WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So, yeah.
Look at that Flair face. That is the Flair face of someone who's like, why are you booing?
There's another bit coming up,
Yeah.
which is quite important because do we have the screen? Do we have the laptop full screen right now?
Yeah.
Who's that in the bottom right?
That is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, who apparently knows who I am. I don't believe that's true.
I really think she knows where the camera is
Well,
because
she's prepping for NXT, where you let her work where the hard cam is.
she is about to just do a kind of, like a generic select wrestler pose for a woman at the top of the entrance. Mm-hmm. She's about to do that.
30 men have entered the match.
But then I wave, I get too excited. that made me remember. She was a face at the start.
Of
Of
AEW.
Yeah, I think of Britt Baker. I think, she's always been a heel. But
She's
no,
a face now, isn't she?
well, but she's a badass face. But she was a full-on baby face.
Britsburg.
Yeah.
I'm the working dentist. Do you remember when she was also shown in the crowd at the NXT show? It was Adam Cole versus... And she,
That
yeah,
one.
and that
Yeah.
one. We had her as the thumbnail, and everyone got
Yeah.
really mad at us. Here we go. It's the 2014 Royal Rumble. What could possibly go wrong? CM Punk's out at number 1.
Is it him? Is that where the thing goes wrong?
No, I think that goes wrong for him in 7 entries time. That's when
Is
things
it
go,
that early?
Yes, when things go very bad for him.
God, he does well to do the rest of the match.
Well, we'll come to that, and we'll come to that in a bit. So Punk comes in at number 1. We knew he was coming in at number 1 because Kane, who he's currently feuding with, had made it so. So you're going in at number 1. But what is amazing, given where we are in 2024, entry number 2 is Seth Rollins.
They've got to do this. Oh, no, they can't.
They're not in the Rumble. Aside from that, Seth's the champion. But yeah, I actually think you should... I was thinking about this over the weekend. I was like, you should... Because I was thinking about this. You should have Punk come out as number 1. And then I remember the reports from the Dominic Mysterio match at Madison Square Garden, where he had a 13-minute match and he was blown up, that maybe you shouldn't have him come out as number 1. Maybe you should just save him right until the end. But yeah, Rollins out at number 2. And here's another thing, actually, that annoys me with JBL. JBL just gives secondary stats. So, as an example...
What do you mean?
As an example... John Cena makes his entrance for the world title match, and Michael Cole says, John Cena, one of only 4 men to have won 2 Royal Rumbles. In fact, his other run, one of his wins, was last year. And then JBL just pipes up and goes, and the first one was in 2008. So, all right.
Just Googled it.
Just Googled it. Let me just Google that quickly. Where is that one? This action is way better than Cena versus Orton.
So I've written something very similar. This, it's Punk and Seth Rollins. It's CM Punk and Tyler Black. This is Ring of Honor in the ring only 5 years after... Well, no, Punk was before them, but this is a modern style, what would become the modern style.
Yeah.
And I likened it in my notes here to having Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt and Punk and Seth Rollins start off the Rumble here on the same show as that Orton-Cena match. Felt like, oh, here's Benoit and Perry Saturn on a WCW show, and the main event is Hogan versus Randy Savage.
Yeah.
It's like these two, like the old and the new. There's no in between.
No, there's just a transition as we move into what, as you would say there is the modern style. Basically what the indies were doing in all of the early 2000s that everyone in WWE was like, that's never going to get over. And then it did get over, and those guys just moved into WWE, and that has now become, oddly enough, the WWE style.
Dive.
Yeah, it's remarkable in a way. Number 3 is Damien Sandow.
He's also at the front of this show.
Number 4 is Cody Rhodes, who goes straight for Sandow because I think their tag partnership was already over by this point. The Rhodes Scholars.
And they've got like a pre-existing beef.
Yeah.
So they can fight each other at any time.
And Sandow goes out fairly early. So we're left in the ring in 2014 with CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Cody Rhodes.
So mad. I've written here, who's next? Drew McIntyre.
That's what I thought. I was like, imagine if Drew comes out next. That'd be nuts. But almost like 10 years, man. 10 years later, and it's those 3 guys at top of Raw.
While Cody did go for Sandow, it was Punk that eliminated Sandow.
Yeah. And number 5, it's Kane in his 15th straight Royal Rumble.
But he's not like old Kane.
No, it's better Kane.
No.
It's corporate Kane and his slacks. Here's why corporate Kane just doesn't work. Because corporate Kane is such a great idea. Because it's Kane.
Yeah.
It's the devil's favorite demon. It's hellfire and brimstone. It's the big red machine. And now he's wearing trousers. It should be so good. But they never make enough of the fact that it's Kane wearing trousers.
I don't know, man. How much more could you make of it?
By pointing out that this used to be
Right.
the big red machine. This used to be a man who could only speak via a voice box. This is a man who burnt down his childhood home. Oh, the Undertaker burned down his childhood home and he was in it. He set his parents' casket on fire. This is genuine WWE lore. He sent his brother to hell and his brother had to go and get permission from his dead parents down in hell to face his brother at WrestleMania. That's who this is, and now he's wearing trousers. Surely there's something you can do with that.
Well, like when he comes out, it's just pictures of trousers on the Titantron.
Make the most of the fact that he's wearing slacks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. They don't do enough of it.
He goes for Punk because they're feuding.
Yeah.
And Punk eliminates him.
Right away. Yeah, great stuff.
Good.
In at number 6 is Alexander Rusev from NXT.
Does he have? He has the same music, doesn't he?
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun,
Slightly changed up his look. There was apparently what Dave said in The Observer. He's trying to go for more of that wild man foreign heel as opposed to being like, I'm an Olympian wild
Yeah.
heel.
And he's Bulgarian.
Bulgarian, yeah, the Bulgarian brute. Punk talks about this on that podcast where he said that goes like, everyone's afraid to say anything. He goes, and people were afraid to go up to top guys and ask them questions. Which is amazing when you hear that and you think what happens to his time in AEW. But he said that they were standing in Gorilla and he said to Rusev, like, what are you going to do? Because Rusev was too afraid to ask him any questions. So what are you going to do? He's like, I'll come up and I'll just give you some kicks in the corner. And he was like, no, you can come in and like do something cool. And he basically pointed to the crowd, is what Punk said. To point to the crowd is like, no one out there gives a fuck about you because they don't know who you are. So make them know who you are. And he comes in here and he looks awesome. He just comes in and dominates everyone. And when you look at, when I'm making my notes for this, you write down sort of what they do. But I've got some entries that just do nothing. Like The Miz comes in and does nothing. Jack Swagger comes in and does nothing. Rusev comes in here and genuinely looks good.
He feels different as well.
Yeah.
Different style, different look. He feels fresh and stands out from that WWE style. Because I guess like Rusev in theory should be the next crop of the next generation following the Punk and the Bryan.
Yeah. That's what NXT's there for. Apparently, this is according to Dave Meltzer in The Observer, Michael Cole said that Rusev was an Olympic prospect for the Bulgarian powerlifting team. Powerlifting is not an Olympic sport.
It doesn't need to have basis in reality. It's a promotion tag.
Just say things. Jack Swagger comes out and has a little throwdown with Rusev. You could run this back in AEW today.
You're not going to talk about Dutch Mantel's sign?
Well, I didn't note down what Dutch's sign did say. So do you want to tell us?
Okay, so...
Because one of them's about like every minute something happens.
So Dutch comes out twice, one for Jack Swagger and one later on for Antonio Cesaro. He's managing both in the Real Americans. Great act, risque act. And I kind of forgot how risque because he comes out in this entry number 7 holding a sign that says, every 90 seconds, another illegal sneaks across the border. The punchline to that comes when he comes out with Cesaro and his sign that time reads, you could time it yourself, but they stole your watch.
In hell. His promos.
I don't remember it being that full.
Do you remember Brian Alvarez had, like, he was invited onto news shows. So during his feud with Del Rio, because that's obviously the previous year's WrestleMania, like Jack Swagger wins the Elimination Chamber and goes on to face Del Rio at WrestleMania. And all of Zeb Coulter's promos, Dirty Dutch Mantel, was just like, I don't like illegals. They coming on. I don't recognize those faces when I'm out in the streets. They don't speak what I speak. I don't recognize. And it was really heavy on. But Brian Alvarez was invited onto news shows because he did get news coverage, which was the whole point, was to try and get controversy, create cash and all that. And Brian Alvarez, as a Hispanic, was doing, I was like, what do you make of this? And he was like, it's a wrestling character.
Yeah.
It's a wrestling character doing wrestling character things. It's WWE, almost desperate for attention. And this is their latest ploy to try and get attention.
See, I quite like wrestling tackling serious topics, like how I like movies tackling serious topics. The problem with WWE has always been, but I don't trust you.
I don't know if you know what the answer is.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you're on the heels side. So, like, an example would be the fat shaming stuff against Mickie James. That's a fine story to tell if Mickie James then overcomes that and beats the bullies, and it's like, look, I'm beautiful, I'm not fat. It's like, that's a ridiculous thing to say. But what actually happened was WWE were like, oh, she's She's not as thin as some other people, though,
Nope.
is she?
I mean, sure, she's going to win in 20 seconds, but then she's going to leave and go to TNA, so it's okay. Bye-bye, fatty. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, although that'll be difficult. It's so big.
And you've got a big rubbish bag as well.
Yeah, what was I going to say about... I was going to say something else about Zeb Coulter then, but it's escaped me now.
I could say Swagger and Rusev are in the ring right now. Hoss fight, Miro and Jake Hager.
So I said you could run this back in
Yeah.
AEW.
Oh, yeah.
And in at number 8, it's Kofi Kingston, who immediately gives CM Punk a concussion.
Is that where it comes from?
He does his roll and he slams him down to the mat and Punk gets concussion. And you can see Punk laid there and his eyes blink and then he rolls to the corner and starts chatting to the referees.
Oh, okay.
And he's in this for a long time afterwards.
Oh my God. After a show where 3 separate people sold concussions. You had Bryan, then you had Lesnar, and then you had whatever the hell Cena was trying to do. God damn. I didn't know it was them.
You can tell that he gets hurt as well. When I say that, in the moment, I don't think anyone did. I certainly didn't. But now watching it back, knowing what happened, you can see it happen because Cody then tries to lift him up and you can almost see him go leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And he puts him back down and walks over to someone else. Punk on the Cabana podcast says, and it's a quote, "I rolled to the corner and I said to the doc, I have a concussion. And the doctor said, what do you want me to do? I just started laughing. I was like, Doctor, you are the most worthless piece of shit I've ever met in my life." And Cabana tries
Doc,
to...
my arm's hanging off. What do you want me to do
do?
about it?
Well, Cabana jumps to the defense a little bit to be like, well, in fairness, what is he supposed to do? He can't take you out of the match. Do you want him to... is he asking you, do you want me to tell someone in the back? Do you want to get out of the match? And what Punk said is he goes, look, I just said to him, I'm going to collect myself and then, we'll deal with it. I'm going to finish this match. And he said, I had this old school wrestler's mentality. I'm going to finish this match. Later on, he's then told, Kane's going to come down and Kane's going to eliminate you. And Punk said, fuck you, I'm going to finish this match. Mm-hmm. If Kane touches me, I'm fucking quitting. And apparently then Kane is at ringside for ages because he'd been sent down early to get Punk out and Punk just wouldn't do it. So Kane's there for a while, but the camera never catches him.
No
But
way.
apparently Kane's down there for ages, just standing at ringside.
In slacks.
In his trousers, waiting to do the spot, waiting for essentially Punk to eliminate Punk.
And they made nothing of that he was wearing trousers. If he's out there...
That's the point of Kane.
Oh, damn. Poor Kofi, because him and Punk were, best mates behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And to do that, yeah.
Out next is Jimmy Uso at number 9, and Punk, who's just had a concussion, headbutts Jimmy Uso. You've got a broken head, Phil. Don't do that. In at number 10, it's Goldust. You got Punk, Rollins, and Rhodes going after Rusev, and then everyone else gets involved to eliminate him. Vinny V, very upset about this in the Figure 4 write-up. And then Rusev's eliminated.
Everyone gangs up on him.
Yeah. And Punk then throws Kofi out of the ring. And Rusev catches Kofi and he gives him a body slam onto the barricade. And then the referees shoo Rusev away to the back. And Kofi, they're like, he's not eliminated. He's still in this match. His feet haven't touched the floor. Kofi stands up on the barricade, steadies himself, runs, does a big leap of faith, gets back in the ring.
Great save.
Very good.
Really good Kofi spot. So we're 10 entrants in now. 5 of those would go to AEW.
Let's have a look. Goldust, Swagger, Rusev, Cody, and Punk. Yeah.
Punk.
Full half.
2 of them came back.
In at number 11 is Dean Ambrose, followed at number 12 by TNA's own Dolph Ziggler, who gets a wicked pop.
Because everyone was still into him. I was still into him. It was only until 2015, 2016 where it was like, oh. Actually, no, maybe the brand split. He had a good IC program. So maybe
2016 would be The Miz, so I guess that would be one of them.
Yeah. Dean Ambrose, I've got notes for everyone, but for Dean Ambrose, I've just got Dean Ambrose.
That's exactly what I've got.
He doesn't do anything.
That's what I mean. There are some guys that just come in and just don't do anything. R-Truth in at number 13, and the Shield beat him up and eliminate him.
The ageless man.
Jimmy Uso also gets eliminated by the Shield, and then we get our second Kofi elimination spot where he gets kind of pushed under the bottom rope, but he hooks his toes around the bottom rope, so he keeps his feet in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as good as the other one. Just don't do another one after you've done that impressive first one.
Well, they did this in the women's Rumble, didn't they? Because they both had Naomi and Casey Catanzaro both doing the Kofi spots. And I'm like, don't have both of them do it because it undermines, just have one of them do it. In at number 14, Kevin Nash comes out and does nothing in this Rumble.
Why? He does something. He's ginger and has short hair now.
He dyed his hair brown.
But it's ginger.
Yeah,
It's gone red.
That's the light. It's the light that it's shining upon him. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be a brunette here.
Yeah.
He goes after the Shield, and then at number 15 is Roman Reigns. Cole says, Reigns keeps telling people, he's going to headline a WrestleMania. Boy, he sure does.
This is a good structure to the match, though. This is the mark of the second half of the Rumble, and it is all three Shield members they're in, and now Roman can just start eliminating everyone. He didn't even get right into the ring. He did his awesome drive-by dropkick. Does he do that now as Tribal Chief? I can't remember him.
I think so.
Yeah, I love that move.
Yeah, I mean, you got to run to do it, which is a little bit more for most Roman matches. He tosses Kofi out. He spears Dolph and throws him out. He ducks the ropes and eliminates Nash. And then Rollins, because he's the architect here, and this is key to what happens later on, saves Roman from being eliminated by the Rhodes brothers. Very, very good. At number 16, I was genuinely shocked at this. He's still here.
Yeah.
In 2014, the Great Khali. I would have thought 2010, 2011 is him done.
I was surprised when he came out. I was like, is he a legend return spot? No, he's still on the roster.
It's just part of the roster. Yeah. Great Khali comes out. Shield take him out immediately. Cody then gets eliminated by accident by Goldust, and Roman throws out Goldie. So Roman is racking those eliminations up.
Yeah, that Goldust Cody spot. I reckon that was one of their many attempts to set up a WrestleMania match.
Ding, ding, ding. It's exactly what it was supposed to do. Because they lose the tag, they lost the tag titles here. They're supposed to set up a WrestleMania program. That will never happen. Well, actually,
could do
now, because Goldust probably will be going back to WWE when his contract's up. In at number 17, it's Sheamus making his return.
Shameful day, lobster head.
That's right, too many limes.
Too many limes.
The Shield are about to powerbomb Punk, so Sheamus comes in and beats up all three members of the Shield. The Miz is in at number 18.
No pop. Just absolutely zero crowd reaction.
He main evented WrestleMania not 2 years ago.
This is when I noticed Punk's been down for a while.
Yeah.
I saw him in the corner.
At number 19, Fandango. And the crowd do the Fandango. Because that's this crowd.
Is this a new Fandango, or is this still old Summer Rae Fandango?
This is because he debuted at WrestleMania the previous year. So
he got another dance partner.
He had about 3 dance partners, I think.
I like how the crowd sound more drunk the more Fandangoing they do, and then it just morphs into Daniel Bryan. Daniel
Bryan. Oh yeah, Daniel Bryan. Punk is still in this Rumble, by the way, because Miz and Dango nearly eliminate each other. And yes, you're right. The crowd start chanting for Daniel Bryan, but it's okay because they're going to get another surprise entry next. In at number 20, it's not one of Los Matadores, which is what they essentially teased.
The Colons.
El Torito, who, fun fact for you, Adam Whitney, is the 800th person to enter a Royal Rumble.
Huh.
I did that on a Parts Fund Known list recently. And he immediately goes for Punk, and Punk's there sort of like holding him back with his hand, being like, this guy. And then El Torito gives him the Hurricane Rana. Now, I'm sure Punk requested this. I'm sure Punk had a great time doing this. But why isn't this a heel?
Yeah.
Why isn't this one of the baddies doing this? And then the baddie gets shown up.
He does the same to Fandango, I guess. I think Fandango. Oh yeah, Fandango turns it into an overhead press, like, haha, I'm so strong. Hurricane Rana eliminates Fandango, and then Reigns chucks him out.
He eliminates El Torito into Fandango. Number 21, Cesaro.
Yes, with Dutch Mantel, who I'd never call Zeb Coulter.
Do you not?
No,
Like,
I
even
think
when-
of him. I always go Dutch, even when he's in his Zeb Coulter mode.
So in your note, you've written like, comes out with Dirty Dutch Mantel.
Yep. Comes out with Dutch, and this is when Dutch has the punchline to his racist character joke. Oh, sorry, I meant racist character, not racist character.
Yeah. All of his videos, the Zeb Coulter videos, I think are still on WWE's YouTube channel.
Really?
Yeah, because he did loads of videos with Jack when they first started doing the character, and it's meant to be sort of like filmed in his shack, and it's just him being like, I don't like illegals. And I think it's all still up on the WWE YouTube channel.
What he's done on that sign as well is he's really shaded the word they, because it's they stole your watch, and it's just like that, them. It's for what he's lampooning, hopefully, it's very well done.
I believe, I don't know how certain this is, but one of the pitches they had for Mania the previous year when they were doing like the big Jack Swagger's America, and they introduced that character for the feud with Del Rio, was they wanted to bring in Alex Jones.
Whoa.
Yeah, and do some stuff with Zeb Coulter.
Wow. Alex Jones, to my knowledge, would have been nowhere near as big back then.
No, because that's pre-Sandy Hook?
Oh, yeah, way before,
Yeah?
yeah. 4 years or so, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
If I'm getting my Alex Jones timeline right. I know in 1999 he broke into the Illuminati room with John Ronson. Great book about it, called Them. And then,
Is that true? I think you were making a joke.
No. It's it's not the. He claims it's the Illuminati, but it's the Bilderberg Group, not the Build-A-Bear Group.
That's what I thought you said.
That's a high street shop to create teddy bears.
I bought a Build-A-Bear last year for my daughter.
I used to work in Build-A-Bear.
Did you really?
Yeah, well, it was called what was it called? Teddy Bear Workshop? I think it was just called the Teddy Bear Workshop.
That
back
sounds
then.
about right. Yeah. Because if you
Until
go to...
Big Bear bought it out.
We're both hairy, furry creatures. We're two of a kind. Bears. Underdog bears.
always comes back to bears. Because fun fact about Build-A-Bear, if it's your kids, if you're a kid's birthday, you can go and buy a specific bear, and it costs the age of the child.
Oh, okay.
So we went and bought a bear for £2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Of course, you can put a voice box in it.
Yeah,
so you pay a bit more for.
Which we did. So it cost us £7.
What did you record into it? Because you record your voice, so when you hug the bear, it says something you wanted to say.
We had the option to do that. We just went with a generic "It sings Happy Birthday."
I farted into one once. I put it in the bear. I was 16. I was 15. I was a Christmas temp.
Yeah.
You could legally do that. They could make you work before 16 if it was Christmas temp.
Yeah, I mean, I was 16 when I worked at Sainsbury's.
But I was 15.
Oh.
I wasn't 16
Right,
yet.
sorry.
I'd turned 16 3 months later.
I don't know if we're trying to sort of, get through this. We've still got, 9 more people to get into this rumble.
Yes.
I do have a story I wanted to tell you. It's not really my story, it's Ellis's story. I'll tell it because it's one of these, I want to see what happened to the people when they, clicked the thing and a fart came out of it.
That was just one we had in the back.
Right. Then you would go like, hey,
It was
guys.
a joke one, yeah.
I thought you'd sold it to someone.
To kids?
Yeah.
That's really mean. Not even 15-year-old Ollie was that mean. Although he was
Anyway.
pretty mean.
I'll be mean.
Said some hurtful things to people.
I'll be mean about this. The camera zooms when Cesaro's doing the swing.
Oh, God.
It cuts to like 3 different cameras, and each one of them's doing the zoom in and zoom out. It's so disorientating.
I think, because this would have been around the time that the swing was debuted in WWE.
It's over at this point.
Yeah,
The crowd
yeah.
popped for it when he hits it on the Miz.
This might be the worst presentation of it.
Oh, yeah.
No way it was this zoomy in and outy later.
Yeah,
It's not very sports-based, is it?
No. It's gross, and I don't like it. So he kind of does some stuff with Punk and does some stuff with Rollins. Number 20.
Just recognise that, though. In 2014, Punk, Rollins, Cesaro. That's Ring of Honor.
Oh, I suppose, actually, yeah.
Like Punk's era of Ring of Honor, Tyler Black would have been coming up at the end of it.
Claudio, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of their time together on the independent scene, Luke Harper comes in. Brody Lee goes straight for Claudio Castagnoli, and they batter each other for a little bit. So that's quite fun. Number 23 is Jey Uso. At this point, there's a lot of guys in the ring. You're like, all right, the next person who comes in is going to be one of the big guys that's going to come in and eliminate everyone. Number 24 is JBL.
Why do people hate this spot? When Tempest was doing the 3 count with us, he said this was the announcer's rumble.
No, this is not the announcer's rumble. One of them is, I think it's 2011.
Oh yeah, because Michael Cole doesn't come out after.
Because that's the rumble where you have like JBL, Cole, and King, all in the same rumble. That's the announcer's rumble. That's about.
I like this spot.
I think this one's good because it's just JBL. He's not in his gear. He just takes his jacket off. He gets into the ring, goes to hand Michael Cole his jacket. He's like, Margo, take my jacket, and immediately gets eliminated.
And he just sits back down again. Cole says the JBL character has never entered a Rumble match.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think it's because he was like, this is his Royal Rumble debut. Until someone in the headset was like, Bradshaw's been in loads of Rumbles.
Yeah.
So he has to be like, it's the JBL character that's debuted.
I would prefer on screen they not make reference to the fact that everyone is a fictional character. Is that so much to ask, Stephanie McMahon? Stephanie McMahon?
Number 25, Eric Rowan. When they eliminate The Miz, because he works with Harper to eliminate The Miz, I was like, oh, what do I write? Do I write down Harper and Rowan? I didn't write down the Wyatt family either. I wrote down Bludgeon Brothers, eliminate The Miz.
Represent.
The Hammers.
The crowd get a bit dead here. Like, they were dead for Jey Uso. This is not the main event Jey Uso of today. And the announcers themselves got a bit bored. They just start chatting. So, and then, after that, it's Ryback.
Well, this is where the crowd do actually go into something. Because the Wyatt family square off against the Shield. And the crowd legit go like, yeah, let's do this. We've been teasing this for a month. Let's go. Then Ryback comes out and ruins everything, so he gets booed for it.
And Goldberg chants.
Yeah.
This is the Ryback era where he's going, stupid!
Yeah. Stupid! Hitting
It's
his head and
so
stuff.
bad. But I guess, when we're talking about the Shield, that little spot, that tease of the 6-man match is probably what elongated the babyface run for the Shield.
But yeah, I mean, just going back to that Rollins quote, it's just like, we haven't had a babyface run yet. And so, like, we said we were going to do this Wyatt feud. Let's do that first. And then they get hugely over as babyface. And it's like, well, let's keep us together for a little bit longer. We also, in this moment as well, get Cesaro and Sheamus squaring off and, fighting off against each other.
DeBar.
Yeah.
Later on.
You see that when I interviewed Claudio at Wembley? We were talking about, like, setting the bar quite high. And he just turned to the camera and did the bar thing. And I was like,
he knows.
I didn't even think of that when I said it.
He should have said, setting the Bludgeon Brothers quite high. See how he would have coped with that.
I've written here, Cesaro and Sheamus square off, and then Ryback gets involved. Back down, Ryback.
Yeah, he's ruining everything.
He is ruining everything. Number 27, Alberto Del Rio. And I've written in my notes, he's also still here? Forgetting that's Batista's first feud.
Of course. Punk and babyface Alberto Del Rio, right? Or no, he was a heel?
He's back to being a heel again, because then he goes into the feud with Batista, because Batista eliminates him. And they have a match at Elimination Chamber.
So Punk and Rollins are still in. So the number 1 and 2 entrants are still live.
Yeah. Which means it's time for number 28. I walk alone. Batista comes in and the crowd boo him.
Well, I would say they initially pop because it's that Pavlovian, I recognize this music, and then they boo. It's the Cena 08.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, look, Batista's here. No, wait, he's going to win this Rumble. Boo, boo this man.
It's crazy how, honestly, just 5-6 months later, everyone will love Batista because of Drax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we do not know that's going to happen at this point.
No idea it's coming yet.
He's just going to keep making rubbish, made for DVD action films.
And being like, I'm going to be an actor. I was like, no, you're not, Dave. You're probably not, though, are you?
But he was right.
He was right. Oh, has he been Inspector by this point?
No.
Does that come afterwards?
No, Guardians was his first big one. Before then, it was like, I just remember House of the Rising Sun.
Because you reviewed it on DVD.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Rob Van Dam?
Yes, it is.
He did it as a favour to RVD, because I think he said in an interview that's where he caught the acting bug. He didn't have any intention of being an actor, but Rob Van Dam was doing a movie, and he did it as a favour to his friend Rob. Then when it was on set, it was like, it's pretty fun, this, actually. Maybe this will become a career for me. So yeah, crowd boos Batista. CM Punk said on that Colt Cabana podcast, bringing him back as a babyface was a horrible idea. He told creative that a lot. But Batista also had said that.
Yeah.
This is a quote from Batista. I was constantly butting heads with the creative team, which is something we talked about well beforehand. I was promised things that weren't delivered to me because, for one, I didn't want to come back as a babyface. I said, it's not going to work because no one wants to see Batista as a babyface. I'm the worst babyface ever, but I'm a good heel. I'm comfortable being a heel. But WWE tried to shove me down everyone's throats.
Yeah, and this would spark a couple of years of Batista routinely crapping on WWE, which I was so there for at the time.
I loved it, yeah.
And then, yeah, he did the sort of return, give me one-on-one feud with Trips.
For a dreadful WrestleMania match.
I don't hate it as much as other people.
It's so boring.
I really enjoyed the build.
The build's great. Build's good, but it's in the middle of a already quite long WrestleMania. And you look at the cards like, oof, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns are still yet to come. 29 is Big E Langston. And at this point, the crowd start chanting yes, because they're like, brilliant, I know who number 30 is, because it's not 29, that's Big E. It's going to be Daniel Bryan. Let's get excited, everyone.
Big E here is so oiled. He has emptied multiple bottles of baby oil on him. Baby oil Langston.
It's amazing you noted this, because Vinny V also noted this in his
Really?
Rumble review, being like, he's the most oiled man in this Rumble, and stands out because nobody else is oiled up.
I think it's a good strategy. For the Rumble, how are
Yeah.
you going to get him over the top rope?
I guess we'll have to find out. Which means our last entrant, number 30, Rey Mysterio.
Can we relive it? Can we just do the countdown?
Yep, I can get the network up. I think I actually closed the tab in the network. Hold on.
No.
Let me do this.
Technical difficulties.
It's because we were watching the 01 Rumble as well.
Oh, is that the one you were watching?
Yeah. Right, okay.
The greatest Royal Rumble. Not that one.
Rumble 2014. Here we go. Resume.
I'll go back and... Brit!
Brett Baker.
Ah.
Yeah, there's Punk going out, so...
Oh, well, good find. Okay. So this is for...
We'll get the full 10.
Everyone's chanting yes.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Can't quite hear the... All the
when you-
boos are coming in.
You gotta wait for the music to stop.
Oh. Oh, you know what's really awful? Obviously, there's the booze, but then he hits a move. And just usually someone comes in, it's like a hot tag. People just instinctively go, way, to the move. No one goes way. It's all boo.
Yeah, it's because at this point here, they're just booing the match.
It's Rey Mysterio boo.
I don't think that was
6-1 boo.
Boo on 9.
Booyakasha.
Booyaka works. But yeah, poor old Rey Mysterio. It's not his fault that he's number 30.
No, it is. It is his fault. Screw Rey Mysterio. This is legit how I felt at the time. I'm sure he was something to do with it. Widely recognized as one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in wrestling.
Such a politic of backstage. He went up to Vince McMahon. Vince had Daniel Bryan written down at number 30. Rey Mysterio walks up. I was like, I think actually I should be in the Royal Rumble. I won the 2006 Royal Rumble.
That's not going to work for me, brother.
Wait, I can't see my name on this list. That number 30 spot's looking real good for me.
I honestly remember the time being so crestfallen, I couldn't even cope.
You couldn't Adam Copeland.
I couldn't Copeland. So what I started to do was think, there's another one. They're going to do a 31st entry.
Yeah.
There's going to be a kind of dusty, no, don't worry. And I would tell myself that probably up until the copyright logo.
And if this was a Triple H produced show, you'd still be like, it still could happen. Yeah, I mean, I think there's portions of the crowd that are still trying to figure out, so how does Bryan win the Rumble now? Because all 30 guys are in. But I think the majority of people, I'd say the overwhelming majority, have realized, this is it now, and it's just Dave, I guess.
Yeah, because I've written the sort of journey is booing, Rey Mysterio boo, and then you get Daniel Bryan chants. But then I think they all realize that sounds like we're happy. It's quite a jubilant chant. So then they just start jeering or are silent.
Yeah.
And that's the worst bit. Like that, it's really interesting. If you ever think, what does the sound of losing a crowd sound like? And it's this.
Yeah.
In that moment.
That's what I was saying about the Cena Orton match. The most damning parts of that match is when the crowd are even bored of entertaining themselves, that they just go silent.
I will say, though, they do specifically boo Mysterio. Because then after that, you know, it's just like quiet. Rey Mysterio hits a 619 and they booed the crap out of him. Seth eliminates Rey and everyone cheers. Yeah. It's not Rey's fault. Or is it?
You're not Daniel Bryan. Boo! Harper's out by Reigns. And then we get Shield breakup spot of our Royal Rumble.
The reason why we're all here.
Ambrose tries to eliminate Reigns. And Seth Rollins yanks Ambrose off and is like, what are you doing? What were you thinking? What are you trying to do here? And then Cesaro gets involved. Rollins and Ambrose then work together to get Cesaro over. Reigns comes up behind them and dumps all three of them out of the ring. And he stands there and he shakes his head.
Yeah, Roman even shouts at Dean because Dean's like, what are you doing? And Roman's like, you just tried to do that to me. Yeah. And Seth is the innocent party here. He's the civilian casualty. And just like that promo earlier where he seems to be the one like, no, guys, let's bring it together. You could argue that Seth did the right thing by breaking up the Shield. They're hotheads.
Well, that's it, because it's not the plan at this point for Seth to be the one that turns heel. It's Dean that's going to turn heel on the group, or they're going to split away from it. But Dean's the one who's going to come out as the heel of this. Do you think it was like Seth was the right choice in the end?
Oh, God, that's a really good question, because I don't think I can even visualize another way now. Dean was the obvious choice, so I think it's more fun to go with the unpredictable choice, but not in a swerve way. You want to do it in a way where, the real thing has been in front of your face the entire time. And with Seth being the architect, the mastermind, it makes sense that he would then reveal himself. To the moment it looked like his design was going to collapse, he goes on to the bigger thing, which is the authority and the World Championship solo push. So I think it is a good decision. What about you?
I agree. I think they actually get the right call at the end of this. Seth being the one to turn, because no one thought it would be Seth, because everyone thought it was going to be Dean that turned. One of the things I'm really interested in with this journey is the next 4 weeks of television and seeing, because at this point here, they're breaking up the Shield. Like, we're going to break this team up. We're sowing all the seeds for this. All 4 weeks have been the build-up for this. Last 3 months have been the build-up for this. But they're going to be a group together now for another 4 or 5 months. So I'm like, all right, what does TV look like then where they change their mind? How do they write their way? Or do they just ignore it?
That's WWE style.
That's what I'm excited to see.
I bet the first promo after this of them backstage with their little selfie cam is Seth going, Don't worry, we've talked about it.
we're
Moving
cool now.
on,
Yeah,
and
we're
that's
cool
it.
now. Wyatt, we're coming after you.
You're good. You're good. Rome's like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
And that's it.
Yeah. I would also say of the three, Dean, fantastic. Just such a great presence about him. Roman, he's obviously the new superstar. We all liked him back then. If anything, Seth was quite one-dimensional at this time. All he was a laugh.
And a hair.
And a hair.
He had the blonde streak.
Yeah. And the best in-ring wrestler.
Yes, he was the best of the three.
So having him to be the one to do the turn, actually, he can run off that for the rest of his career, which he has done, arguably. It wasn't only the right choice, he probably needed it the most as a performer.
So that is the Shield out, with the exception of Reigns.
Reigns is like racking up the eliminations as well.
Tied with Kane now.
That's the one, is it?
Yeah, so it's in as a singular run like match. He's now tied Kane for eliminations. And then on the other side of the ring, speaking of the man, Kane drags out CM Punk and gives him a chokeslam through a table. And CM Punk would never be seen in WWE again.
And who's tending to poor old Punk?
It's with the Z-Pack there.
I've got a Z-Pack for you, buddy. It's Dr. Chris Amann.
It's all right, man. Here's a little Z-Pack for you. That'll make you feel better. So, yeah, the following night.
From number one.
Yeah.
Punk from number... I remember being furious at the time. Because I didn't know any of that. I wasn't following the dirt sheets. The only reason I knew about, like, all of the unhappiness, really, was through the Colt Cabana podcast. Because I listened to the Colt Cabana podcast because I liked wrestling, not so much the backstage news.
I mean, to put you over, you listened to Art of Wrestling before it was cool.
That's why I went to see Progress, because Colt Cabana was going to be on the first show.
Yeah. You were a huge fan of Art of Wrestling, like on a weekly basis.
I love Colt Cabana, yeah.
So, the next night on Raw is Punk shows up and he leaves. And he walks out in the company, and that's it.
Not on screen.
Not on screen. It's all behind the scenes. So here's what Meltzer wrote the situation. The status of CM Punk has become a major talking point in WWE as he told Vince McMahon about 30 minutes before the start of Raw in Cleveland that he was flying home, and he did. He wasn't on the show and didn't appear at the SmackDown tapings the next night. WWE has since pulled him off all shows, although at press time, he was still being advertised for Elimination Chamber. We're told that eventually he'll be pulled off that show as well. It's sketchy what happened. Over the last week, ever since Punk interview with Ariel Helwani before the Chicago UFC show, where he openly brought up that his contract was up in July and he didn't want to say what he was going to do next, several people who know him and noted not to be surprised if he leaves. 2 different people said that he was as good as gone in July, and one said they didn't expect him to last even until July. There were frustrations with creative and with money, even though he has made great money the last several years. This was not a spur-of-the-moment thing, as much as something that had been building. The way we were told is that he couldn't take it any longer and told Vince McMahon that he was going home. McMahon had been tied up all day since they were rewriting the show based on what happened the prior night at the Royal Rumble to figure out a way to keep the show under control and not have the audience hijack it again. Punk...
like Vince rewriting a show hours before it began is this big out-of-the-ordinary occurrence.
Punk had been scheduled for an interview on the show to presumably build up a match with Kane at Elimination Chamber, which would lead to his planned WrestleMania match with Triple H. Because McMahon was so busy, Punk didn't see him until 7:30 p.m. when he was told him he was leaving. The reason the Kofi Kingston versus Alberto Del Rio match on Raw went so long is because it came during the period laid out for Punk's interview and had to go for a second segment to cover that time, so the key money segments would be in their correct time slots. The working assumption internally has been for several weeks that Punk was leaving in July and was not going to sign a new deal. The belief was that he is not a spender, has saved his money, and doesn't have to work. It was a weird dynamic because he's one of the few guys on the roster and the company that Vince McMahon believed he didn't need them, and financially really doesn't. So they can't deal with him on the same level as other guys who are scared to lose their jobs and spots. Within the company, the reason that he came to the realization that he would never be positioned higher than he was, his goal was to main event WrestleMania, as in to be the real main event of WrestleMania. He felt that because he didn't fit the mold of what they think a top star in the company should look like, he was never going to be the guy or the centerpiece. And you could say, it's Meltzer writing dirt sheets then. That is more or less what Punk says verbatim on the Colt Cabana podcast.
And he's true. like watching the product at the time, obsessively following Punk at the time, this is what we were all saying.
Yeah. Another person close to the situation who was aware that it was coming, just didn't know when, said it was a classic case of being burned out and noted the dichotomy that he's never had a job where he's made anywhere close to the same amount of money, nor ever been as famous and got more wrestling than this one. But he has been miserable at the job for some time, and he was a guy who loved working in pro wrestling when he made nothing or very little. It was noted that he never had a personal connection with Vince McMahon that most of the top stars have had, and always knew that he was not their kind of guy, didn't have the look that they thought a star should have, and felt that he got over in spite of how he was used and not because of how he was used. The feeling was that there was a communication issue and lingering unresolved issues that date back some time, probably for most of the last year, combined with some frustration regarding creative going forward as of late. Sheamus will be replacing Punk at all the SmackDown tapings, where he was largely advertised as the main star. It's a brave new world where you can never rule out the possibility it's a work, but you won't know for sure until Mania comes around and goes without a return. Daniel Bryan will be advertised as the main star on SmackDown going forward, since John Cena is not booked to work Tuesdays.
Wow. I mean, the thing was, as we now know, crazily, it was a work. He was sent to AEW to take them down from the inside. And now he's come back more popular than ever. It says there that he's not into money, not a big spender, which does jar somewhat. I know there's 10 years have passed. Maybe he's spent all his money in that time. But his whole gimmick now is, I'm here to make money. Mm-hmm. It's a business. This is the Punk I bought into was the guy who did it for the love.
Yes.
And that's the Punk that's being described here. I don't do it for the money. I do it
That's
because
true.
I love this and I want to tell wrestling stories.
And he always said as well, he says on the Art of Wrestling podcast with Cabana, that he found a 4-figure check after he got fired. He just found it laying around the house. That's a large chunk of change. He was like, oh, whoops. I don't need this. But I found it in the house, so I may as well try and cash it. And then I don't think he could cash it in the end because he wasn't working for the company anymore. I was like, oh, no, that check's expired. But yeah, he's a guy that apparently had so much money that a check that had 4-figure number on it. I think that was actually more than 4 figures. I think it was
I think so.
Like a 6-figure number or something. He was like, oh, whoops. Forgot to cash that. Can you imagine?
I mean, I don't know how that works from an accounting perspective. Because if I'm a tax inspector, I'm now investigating you for fraud. Oh yeah, you just didn't cash that check.
Brian Alvarez in his write-up did talk about that money was a big issue in this, and it's not about just how much he's getting paid. It's the networks coming in.
Yes.
And no one's being told how this will affect your paychecks, because WWE paychecks were based on you have your rate and then you get your bonuses on top of that, which is merchandise, cuts of house shows, and pay-per-views that you appear on. Where there's no pay-per-view buy rates anymore, all of a sudden that's gone. And so Punk's question was like, what does this mean for how much money we make? Yeah. And WWE's response was, I don't know. And he also...
But I think that... Yeah, to me, that doesn't seem so much of a money-motivated thing. Yeah. Although it's a big factor. It seems more of a fairness.
Exactly, yeah. Alvarez also notes here, it was also said that it was upset about the booking of Late joining the club, and while the company thought a feud with Triple H was a good storyline leading to a big match at WrestleMania, he disagreed. Given that Triple H and Vince McMahon are the two most powerful people in the company right now, one would reason that this likely wouldn't have gone over too well with Hunter. It was also said that he's upset that no matter what happens, he'll never be pushed as the John Cena caliber face of the company. I'm just going to see if there's any more I want to point out that hasn't already been said. Oh, actually, okay. Backstage reaction to it. The feeling within WWE, and this goes all the way from the bottom to the very top, is very much split. Half of the people seem to think that he stood up for himself and did the right thing and should be applauded. The other half feel that he's being a baby about it all and shouldn't have walked out, particularly without giving the company time to write him out in storylines. The term "fuck him" was used by more than one person who contacted us. It's a very polarizing issue within the company.
I wonder if there's a generational divide between those two halves.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the younger people, like Shield, Bryan, Cesaro at this point, would have the sort of... Anyone who's come from the indie scene over the last 10 years would be looking at Punk, the guy who arguably opened the door for all of them to come into WWE, and kind of be more on his side.
Yeah.
Whereas your takers, yeah...
Sean's.
But Sean liked the guy. Sean liked the guy.
Yeah, well, then I was walked out of the company. Maybe it's a different attitude now.
Yeah, Sean would never walk out on the company.
Sean's always, quite famously, a very smiley guy when it comes to not walking out on companies.
He'd never exaggerate any injuries he had to get out of losing.
Here's an interesting note from The Observer, though. Punk also said that he's told Vince McMahon via text that he'd like to induct the Ultimate Warrior into the Hall of Fame. And although one would think his leaving may nix that, there was probably never a chance to begin with that happening. He said that he's never met Warrior, but Warrior texts him inspirational messages before pay-per-views and they have a connection. He noted that Hulk Hogan, who is rumoured to be the one inducting Ultimate Warrior, hates the Ultimate Warrior.
Why doesn't anyone talk about this?
Right, that's what I thought. I'm reading, I was like, what?
I always, Punk always would say, and I think it's in his film as well, that he was an Ultimate Warrior guy.
Yeah.
Never a Hulk Hogan guy. He always liked the guy who wasn't the main pushed guy.
Yeah.
Not obviously Warrior was pushed, but he was different to Hogan.
Well, I mean, look at what Hogan said about Ultimate Warrior. It's like, hey, he beat me at WrestleMania, but everyone was looking at me when I left the ring. It's like, yeah, sure they were, buddy. So on the Cabana podcast, he talks about how the way he tells the story is that he arrived at the building and was told that he had to take a piss test.
Yes.
And considering the new
This was at Raw.
This was at Raw. So he arrived at the building having just had a concussion, and they were like, we need to take a drug test. And he was like, me? Of all people. And they were
Straight edge Phil.
Yeah. And he demanded to be taken care of his other health issues that he was having, like the concussion, but they were more concerned with him taking a piss test. This is where the quote comes in, and I'll apologize if you don't like the F word. I do not love this anymore.
Can you just say bears instead of the F word when it comes up?
I do not love this anymore. I'm bearing sick. I'm bearing hurt. I'm bearing confused. I don't know as a business what we're doing anymore. Every day you tell me this is a team effort, but every day it's a bearing individual effort by me to find out what's necessarily to even bearing come here. It's not fun. I have zero bearing passion for this. I'm bearing concussed. I'm bearing hurt, and all you care about is what segment I'm in and how soon I can get bearing, how I can bearing get my gear on, and how I can pee in this bearing cup, and I don't want to do it anymore. Triple H then told him, well, Batista took the same piss test, and Punk, according to him, looked him in the eye and said, did you? And got no response.
It's one of my favourite bits of the whole podcast. Punk's also coming off quite a few recent examples of this same thing, where he would turn up hurt, and rather than the company being concerned about his injury and helping him get better, there'll be a sort of pressure to how quickly can you get back in the ring.
Yeah. So he then says, look, when I re-signed 3 years ago, Vince, I told you I couldn't be all the things, then you should bearing fire me. That if I was a fraud and I was anything less than you fell short of the effing mark. I sold more shirts than John Cena until I turned heel. For you said you owed me one. I worked with guys that were bearing dangerous, and you said you owed me one. I did all of these bearing things, and all I wanted was the main event of WrestleMania. And it's fine if you don't think that is me, and that I'm not the caliber of bearing superstar, and then you need to bearing fire me, because I do not want to be here, and I do not want to be anything less. I will go somewhere else. I will get more bearing over, because I know I can. You have shackled me. You have creatively stifled me. You have made this a very toxic environment. I no longer want to be here.
Oh, someone made somewhere a toxic environment for CM Punk.
Then went on to talk about how it boggles his mind that Daniel Bryan was not figured into any plans for WrestleMania, given that it's his year. And then Vince responded was like, you've got a big match at WrestleMania. You've got a match with Triple H. Punk said, all due respect, I do not need to wrestle you. You need to wrestle me. I do not want to wrestle you. I seriously resent you for not putting me over 3 years ago when you should have. That would have been best for business, but you had to bearing come in and squash it. And then I had to lose to bearing Truth and Miz. It didn't make any sense then, it doesn't make any sense now, and I'm in a position now where I can tell you that I do not have to, nor do I want to wrestle you at WrestleMania. I don't care if I was supposed to win.
That, because Triple H in this is Punk's boss. Like backstage, that's his real life boss. And that is what Punk is standing up to him.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing when you look at this stuff now.
Yeah.
Like, particularly, where they are.
Hell froze over.
Hell froze over. Because he was supposed to beat him. And he said, a direct quote, I didn't want to give him the bearing privilege. The way he should always...
Was that Triple H
So yeah, Punk said about Triple H, I don't want to give him the privilege of having a WrestleMania match with me. It said Triple H never liked him. While you hear stories about the dirt sheets, various things, blah, 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 blah. The way he would always look sideways at me, the way he always treated me. He then adds that Triple H is a piece of shit.
Piece of bear.
A piece of bear. Do apologize.
Underdog bears. Wow.
So anyway, crowd chant for Daniel Bryan. And now that Punk's out as well.
Yeah, so it's Sheamus, Batista, and Roman.
Yeah, so Punk made it to the Final Four, then he's eliminated. He finished the match the way he was supposed to do. Crowd chant no. Sheamus gets booed for pointing at the sign.
They're booing Batista the most.
Yes.
But they're booing Sheamus too. They're not booing Roman.
No, because then...
This year.
Because Roman ducks the bro kick and Sheamus clatters out. So it's now down to Reigns and Batista. And
can I just point out, when Sheamus is setting up the bro kick, bro, the whole crowd are chanting, no, no.
So that means he's now beaten Kane for eliminations.
14.
Yeah, which obviously will be beaten by Brock Lesnar in a couple of years' time. And it's now down to Batista and Reigns, and the crowd gets so into Roman Reigns, wanting to see him win this Royal Rumble. Quite rightly so, as well.
Yeah.
Because no one wanted Dave.
What do you think history would look like if Roman did beat Batista? So you'd have, within the Shield, a Royal Rumble winner going for the main event at Mania. Against Orton, presumably.
They probably would have broken the group up earlier, I guess. And then, would you have had Reigns beat Randy at WrestleMania? That whole crowning Roman at WrestleMania thing that we just kept delaying and delaying and delaying. We could have done it in 2014.
Before everyone got sick of him for 5 years.
Yeah. I also don't think, we'll get to it in our timeline. I think keeping him looking like he was still within the Shield, they gave him the Shield's music, they gave him the Shield gear. I think even doing it now, splitting the group up, but giving him all that, crowd would have turned on him by the time we got to Mania. Batista hits the spear as Roman was doing the Superman punch and gets booed for the process. Reigns then hits a spear and he gets cheered.
Huge pop, that one.
But Batista then just eliminates him and the boos ring out.
Yeah, Roman's going to chuck Batista out, but Batista just, does the spin and throws Roman out instead. In terms of, a final spot for creativity, pretty underwhelming.
Very underwhelming, yeah. And they show recaps of all of Roman's eliminations, and you can hear that the crowd are chanting no and booing, but they just play Batista's music louder so you can't hear it as much. Dave would say of the match, the crowd booed a lot when they realized Punk was gone because it wasn't Bryan, he was the most acceptable alternative. The crowd started booing heavily. Batista backdropped Sheamus over the top and Reigns shoulder blocked Sheamus off the apron, breaking the record. Batista looked really tired as this was his first match back in 4 years. The crowd was cheering and chanting for Reigns. They each speared the other before Batista threw him out. The crowd booed Batista, who played up the win as a heel in playing off the crowd, even flipping off a fan who was verbally abusing him. 3.25 stars for the match. What do you make of the Rumble itself?
The Rumble itself,
taking out all the news, because obviously there's the Shield stuff in there, there's the Batista stuff, the Ray stuff, the Punk stuff. But what do you think of the match itself?
So what are the big spots? There's Punk lasting from number 1 to the Final Four.
Yeah, Rollins being in there for a long time.
Roman breaking the
record.
The Shield spot.
Yeah, the Shield are the coolest thing in this.
JBL, fun little spot as
Rusev.
a comedy spot. Rusev's cool up. It's a mid-tier Rumble.
Yeah. I don't think it will end up on anyone's worst list,
No.
but it's not going to end up on a best list either.
It's more, but it is kind of also on the worst list because of that Ray ending.
Yeah.
It not having Daniel Bryan come out finally does actually probably push it into a worst ever Rumble. Because the crowd are actively crapping on it by the end.
Vinny V would say Rey Mysterio was number 30. Poor guy got booed. It's not his fault. Ray ran wild, the crowd chanted for Daniel Bryan. They then went back to booing. Sheamus eliminated Big E. Cesaro started uppercutting the world. Didn't matter what happened. Crowd responded with lukewarm boos. Rollins dumped Ray and people cheered. And then in all caps, it's not his fault, people. Fans were still chanting for Bryan. Then they just booed the world. They hated everyone. Batista, Sheamus, Reigns, Vince, me, you, everyone. Finally, they started chanting Roman's name. They had a big pyro celebration for Dave and the boos just continued. Well, that was something else. Heck of a match before things went haywire. To recap the show, amazing, horrendously boring, then unforgettable. 4 stars.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Even for the quality of the match, I wouldn't have given it 4 stars.
Larry. The early part of the match had a great flow and was a lot of fun. It's then slowed down and a lack of overall star power became apparent. Lack of reactions for Ryback and Del Rio are examples of this. Ray was number 30, which led to disappointment and more Daniel Bryan chants. I get the disappointment, but I think we should remember that Bryan was never advertised to be in the match. Doesn't make it better, but that is the truth. This was an overall solid Rumble match. The beginning had great flow, it tapered off, then had a solid finish. Reigns got the big push as expected and shows that WWE is behind him. 2 3/4 stars.
I think I agree with Larry, yeah.
So that's 3 1/4 from Dave, 4 from Vinny V, and 2 3/4 from Larry. That's a real split there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a mid-tier Rumble. I think it's the news overshadows everything, and the crowd overshadow the rest of it. But I actually also agree with Larry that the lack of star power... And, you know, we did a 3-count episode, not 3-count, TLC, and I kind of referred to some of these, like, Rumbles as bunch of lads Rumbles, because WWE had just created an environment where you had top guys and everyone else wasn't over. So you had a bunch of people that people liked, and then there was just 80% of the rest of the roster. So a bunch of guys just come out, nothing, because who cares? Like, what are you going to do? Just face Kofi Kingston on Raw? I've seen that match 1,000 times. What are you going to do the following week? Have a match with Dolph Ziggler. Seen it 1,000 times. No one goes up, no one goes down, and it's just it's the mid card is so under. But yeah, there you go. Royal Rumble 2014 as a show. What did you make of it?
Oh, fascinating! Great opener. Love that opening Danielson Bray Wyatt match. What was the? It was an angle.
Yeah, it's Brock and Big Show.
The Lesnar Big Show angle.
On Sunday.
Then there was the. It is a fun spectacle to hate watch of Orton and Cena, and then just a fascinating Rumble.
Yeah.
Very, very. I think overall though, this is a bad show.
Yeah.
Especially me at the time. I can't really separate it from my reactions back then. It's a 1.5, 2-star show.
Yeah.
Which has a great match on.
It's weird. It's amazing how many thumbs up are on this show when you look at the observer feedback, how it's really split between thumbs up and thumbs in the middle, and very few thumbs down. Because I think this is kind of a bit of a thumbs down show outside of that opener.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it really is, the company's bad at this point. So that's chapter 1 of our little adventure we're going on here with the breakup of the Shield. Our next episode won't be Elimination Chamber, because we've already reviewed that, and it won't be WrestleMania 30, because we've already reviewed it. However, we are going to be looking at the Wyatt match, and we're going to be looking at the match they have at WrestleMania, and talking about those in our next episode, which will be Extreme Rules, because there's new challenges to the Shield, and it's not a mystery. It's evolution. It's evolution.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah. See if we can rehab that Batista push. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. We'll be back next month with the next episode. Any expectations for Extreme Rules?
We'll
have a new champion.
I can't remember what happens on it.
Daniel Bryan's the champion. He faces Kane.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I remember being disappointed.
I think it's Cena Wyatt again.
Oh, God.
I think that's the cage match.
I'm more interested to rewatch, because I want to rewatch the Chamber 6-way. 6-person, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that match is awesome. But yeah, we will see you next month for the next edition of WrestleTalk Extra. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you. I love you. Goodbye. Jam that jam.
Hello and welcome to the 2003 count, because in this episode we are going through every WWE pay-per-view in the year 2003.